at all. I think that most people today would admit they're on the same page where you're not surprised about the results, but what we are surprised about and maybe a little concerned about is the margins. And I'm even talking about some of the margins that were present in other states outside of New Jersey and Virginia and New York. Mamdani was going to win no matter what. And if you look at where some of the maps have had where people pull, they're digging into this right now and looking at some of the voters where they voted and how many voted in, sexes, gender, all that stuff. E Even if Kurt Sliwa, who's the perennial candidate in New York City, the Republican, even if he would have gotten out of the race, Mamdani was gonna win, okay? Cuomo was toast, he wasn't gonna win, so he's now the mayor of New York City. What I would say, and my advice this afternoon is do not overestimate the gift that Mamdani is to the GOP, and I'll put it this way, look, I always joked, and I kinda still do, about Cori Bush being the gift that keeps on giving, and she thoroughly embarrassed St. Louis. She didn't do her job for Missouri or for her district. But, jokingly, I've even said recently, hey, I'll put up yard signs for her because she's good for the Republicans. This Mamdani guy is good for the Republicans. However, I don't think you should overestimate. Look, he's got charisma. He's a good-looking guy, isn't he, Sue? He's kind of a good-looking guy, isn't he?
Well, yeah.
He's not my type. I'll just tell you that. But
Either.
my point is there's slickness there.
That's what I think
yeah.
it is. It's well-spokenness. It's slickness.
Right. But here's the other part of this is that, Fred, you said what a difference a year makes. How many people do we know in our real lives, and I think we know a lot, that never, ever vote in any other elections outside of the presidential election? A lot of people.
A lot.
You look what happened yesterday. Look, I'm in Rockwood. Prop S, which was a tax increase, went down. It was pretty narrow. I voted after I got off the air last night. I voted for it because of personal interest with my daughter. I don't know what Plan B might be. But look, people are motivated for whatever reason to go out in primaries and in races like this that are not presidential. And you look at, there's 9 million people in New York City, and 1 million people voted for Mamdani. And I think it was basically a 2 million total. So that's really, I don't know what the turnout, obviously a lot of the people are children, people who aren't eligible to vote, although in New York City, I think that everybody's eligible to vote. But listen to what the story really was of last night. And it's women. And it's young women in particular. So, and this applies to New York City, to Virginia, and to the race in New Jersey, the governor's race, which was supposed to be close. And it wasn't. I mean, none of these things were close. So young women, 81% for Mamdani in New York City, 80% for Cheryl in New Jersey, 78% for Spanberger in Virginia. And then when it comes to the, let's see here, young men, the gender gap is pronounced, but not as much. 64% for Mamdani, 56% for Spanberger, 54% for Cheryl. These are according to exit polls. So there's a lot of ways to dissect what happened last night. And I would say this, just from someone who's been around politics for a long time. Nobody really knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knew yesterday exactly what the margins were going to be. I'm always somebody who has defended polling to a certain extent, but I think you got to look at the polling and what happened in New Jersey and Virginia in particular. But here's what the vice president, I'm going to give you a couple of perspectives here this afternoon on the interpretation from last night and whether to overestimate it. I remember, Fred, let's go back 4 years, because I think we were on the air the day after that election when Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears won in Virginia.
Right.
And that was supposed to be the red wave, right? Well, it was a red trickle, but that was a significant win. But keep in mind, these are deep blue states. I've heard some people today say that these are purple states. They're not. Missouri used to be a purple state. We had Jay Nixon as governor, and Claire McCaskill was a Democrat. We used to have some statewide office holders. We had Chris Koster, who was a Republican who switched to become a Democrat for political convenience, which happens all the time. So, it'd be one thing if you have a close race in Missouri and a Democrat wins here, because that's unusual, because we're, I think most Democrats would say we're a deep red state, not only when it comes to the national politics, U.S. Senate and presidential, but pretty much overall. All our state office holders are Republicans. But that's not the case in Virginia and certainly in New Jersey. Trump's not winning states like that. Now, again, people will say, well, look at the margins. Yeah, the Democrats won, but they won by so much. So J.D. Vance says this. I think it's idiotic. This was on X this morning. I think it's idiotic to overreact to a couple elections in blue states, but a few thoughts. And I think it's tempting on the part of a lot of political pundits and even someone like me to overreact on days like this. And we got walloped. Republicans got walloped. They really did. It was a bloodbath if you really dig into the numbers. But the first point that J.D. Vance made was Scott Pressler, Turning Point USA, and a bunch of others have been working very hard to register voters. He says, I said it in 22. I've said it repeatedly since. Our coalition is lower propensity, and that means we have to do better at turning out the voters than we have in the past. Scott Pressler is maybe almost single-handedly responsible for Donald Trump being in the White House because he registered so many people in Pennsylvania. He was like one of the heroes in Pennsylvania, even though most people don't even know his name. And he's kind of a weird-looking dude. He's got long hair. He looks like a rock and roller, instead of someone who's signing people up to vote. Number 2, J.D. Vance says, we need to focus on the home front. The president has done a lot that has already paid off in lower interest rates and lower inflation, but we inherited a disaster from Joe Biden, and Rome wasn't built in a day. We're going to keep an eye on working to make a decent life affordable in this country, and that's a metric by which we'll ultimately be judged in 26 and beyond. And he's right about that because a lot of this is about the economy and economic uncertainty and affordability. I've been preaching that here a lot the last week. That is resonating with young people in particular. I have 2 kids in their 20s, and they're both, one with a child, my grandchild in Houston. It is a struggle to keep up with the cost of living. I'd say it's a struggle for people who have money when you start looking at the cost of things. But this is really when, we break it down to it's the economy's stupid. You can win on all these culture issues, and we are winning on all the culture issues. It might not matter. Now, these things get very local in the sense that, and I've always made the case, Fred, you know this, the quality of the candidate matters. As much as I love Winsome Sears, and I really believe in what she stands for, and her story is great, she's not the most, dynamic person in front of a camera. And Spanberger was a moderate, even though she kind of had to play to the left. She's mostly seen as a moderate. And that's a blue state. And, I asked Josh Crosshauer this story yesterday. Glenn Youngkin was nowhere to be seen in that, which is weird because he won in such a, I think, impressive fashion. But then people grew a little, I don't know if it was worn out by some of the things or it was the government workers. You got to remember Virginia's very close to D.C. Point number 3 from J.D. Vance. The infighting is stupid, he says. I care about my fellow citizens, particularly young Americans, being able to afford a decent life. I care about immigration and our sovereignty, and I care about establishing peace overseas so our resources can be focused at home. If you care about those things, let's work together. And, I appreciate the message on the part of the vice president. I do think that you shouldn't be in a situation where we overreact, but you have to have a bit of an autopsy when it comes to some of these things and, look forward what it might mean. Now, Matt Walsh tweeted something earlier this afternoon that I retweeted because I think this is part of what all this is about. And, let's see if I have this soundbite here because I had Ethan pull it, but it wasn't the best soundbite on the planet anyway. Greg Price, who's got a pretty significant conservative following on the X, formerly Twitter, was putting up a video of a woman named Jennifer Welch to Hassan, this Mehdi Hassan guy at Zoran Mamdami's victory party. And what she said was, and I can play this. I can't see if I can find the audio. I can play it, but it really doesn't sound very good anyway, so I'll just kind of talk you through it. She said, Americans have no culture except for multiculturalism. Crusty white people need to learn how to embrace it. I've talked about this issue before. I kind of feel like, those of us who love this country deeply are looking forward to celebrating its 250th anniversary and birthday next year with a lot of pomp and circumstance. We deeply care about the freedoms that we have. We have a lot of respect for the greatest generation. These are the people listening right now, the 97.1 FM Talk listeners. Younger women in particular, they do not look at the country that way. And what Matt Walsh said, and I think there's a lot of truth to this, and I'm frightened by a lot of things in this country. I don't want to be apocalyptic or anything like this. But when you look at socialists, Democrat, whatever you want to, you look at socialists and communists winning elections in big cities, that's going to be hard to turn the page back on. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to become even more and more addicted to what government provides. And this is where we get into a conversation. And Fred, I meant to mention this to you because I want to have a deeper conversation about AI and what AI might be all about. Let me close on this because we have Kilmeade coming up. But Matt Walsh said, where Jennifer Welch says Americans have no culture except for multiculturalism, crusty white people need to learn how to embrace it, Walsh says this is the enemy. And I could not agree with him more. Wretched, evil parasites motivated by resentment and hatred, openly plotting to erase our culture and identity and replace it with a dystopian communist hodgepodge of third world dysfunction. This is the fight for now and the future. Get in the game. This is it.
Yes.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Kilmeade's coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident eastbound 6440 past Mason. The right lane is blocked through there. And, of course, we have a jam behind it. Well, now there was an earlier vehicle fire. This was northbound 270 at 6440, and they had the right lanes blocked. Still some slow-moving traffic in that area, like a jam that goes back almost to Doherty Ferry, and southbound jams from 40 back through Page. Now, we also have an accident reported, and this is eastbound on Olive, just east of Lindbergh. It's pretty much at North Morrison. We've got westbound 64 already lining up, approaching Hampton out through McCausland. 70 is better out of downtown. And, of course, we have the jam westbound 5564 from the 70 split to the Poplar Street Bridge, all due to road work. Southbound 55 slowing at Bates. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, service, or prices than at Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
No way is 55 slowing down at Bates. That's impossible. I never hear that narrative. All right, Brian Kilmeade is on deck. He's coming up here in just a couple of minutes. One of the things that I didn't even address in the monologue is Jay Jones. You know, there's a lot of things that did not surprise me about last night, but Jay Jones winning in Virginia, how anyone could support that guy based on what we know is baffling. But the hatred of Trump is Trump's, Trump's that is what we learned. But we'll get Brian's take on that in a couple of minutes. Let's see what the old stock market did today. I haven't checked on that. Usually I do. It's up 225. But I want to guide you into maybe a different perspective on your retirement with Thomas Helbig and the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. They're the official financial planners of my show. They do have a different approach, and that approach involves safely linking to the market, which means you're not going to lose your principal. They have guided lots of folks here in St. Louis through this process over the years. That's why we hold seminars 5 times a year to introduce Thomas and his team to some of you. And the good news is you don't have to wait for a seminar in 2026. We will have some, but you can check in right now and register one-on-one and go see the team in the office. 314-993-9494. You don't know where the economy is going to take us. You don't know where your retirement funds will be in a year. There's a lot of uncertainty that still exists. Get with Thomas and the team. They can get you straightened out. 314-993-9494, retirementkey.com.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $139 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com.
Back to Mark Reardon, because someone's got to say it out loud. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, when you're elected mayor of the biggest city in this country, the number one thing that you have to do, even though you've campaigned on affordability and stuff like that, is take a shot at Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks.
So that was angry Zoran last night, which is interesting. Even the panel on CNN pointed out it was a little bit of a different tone now that he's the victor. Brian Kilmeade, you heard him on the radio here this morning. You saw him on TV. He is the co-host of Fox and Friends, back with us this afternoon for his weekly visit. Godspeed in your neck of the woods. Brian, how are you this afternoon?
It's going to be crazy, but I will say that we heard that same tone when he was assemblyman in 2022 and in Queens at Forest Hills 2 Sundays ago with his fellow socialists. They were chanting "tax the rich." I mean, what are we talking about? Is this the French Revolution?
Well,
So,
apparently,
yeah.
it's seemingly that's where we're heading. But what do you think? Look, I started with the monologue here. I think you don't want to overreact. I saw J.D. Vance comment on that, but you also don't want to underreact. And there are warning signs and things that popped through. I think yesterday, in particular, with the margins. Now, these are states for the most part out where you are. Purple states do not really exist. I've heard people say Virginia's a purple state. Virginia's a blue state, Brian. Right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, what gave people hope that it was going purple. But if you look at these margins now,
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, how did Minoris lose to that guy who was talking about killing families?
Okay, let's start there. That's the one thing I had not addressed in the opening. And that, when I woke up this morning, that was the one thing, and I saw some of the results last night. I just don't get that. What are we missing here, for example, in the Midwest when we see the coverage of this story and the horrible things that guy texted out? And Virginia voters decide, I guess, that Donald Trump is worse, the Republicans are Nazis and evil, and they put him as the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Virginia. That one baffles me.
It's stunning. Except for people that want to lift off that line. If people vote, you have a straight line. People maybe got lazy and they just thought, oh, who cares? But you should really care about your attorney general. And the guy who's doing attorney general is doing a great job. I'm sure they prefer Democrat, but not this guy. This guy was so bad they were afraid to even say, they should have just said, I no longer endorse him. Instead, they just stopped mentioning his name. So Spanberger and the lieutenant governor really had no shot, it seems, John Reed. So you just have the margins. It was stunning to me to see her win by that much, number one. And number two, in New Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli was extremely impressive. He's on his feet, talking to people, worked every county, every street, went to minority neighborhoods, and got crushed. Crushed.
Yeah, and have you seen the demographic breakdown? I didn't see New Jersey, but look, a lot of this looks like it's driven by younger women in particular.
Yeah, and remember when we heard about this, it was about abortion. Well, you lost women because you overturned Roe v. Wade. All right, what's the deal now? So why do women think it's better not to have a responsible person as attorney general? What did they see an extremist Muslim candidate as lieutenant governor? Spanberger's very well known in the area. I don't know Virginia that well, even though we got great affiliates there. But the women really that turned off by Jack Ciattarelli. He was 1.4 years ago. Now he's even more experienced getting against a woman who's extremely flawed as a candidate. My goodness. And she crushed him. So
yeah.
I really don't know. What they said is, I'll give you a theory. A theory is they ran against Trump. Most of the ads run against Trump. So Jack Ciattarelli, friends with Trump, and then they go after Trump. And Trump would not win in New Jersey and has never won in Virginia. So you're on a pretty good course there.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can look at these things, and if Trump's not on the ballot, and obviously I think Winsome Sears did not endorse Trump, so he didn't get involved in that race, and maybe it would have hurt her. Maybe they looked at the the situation, and it would have ended up hurting her if he gets too involved because of the anti-Trump sentiment. But my friend John Ziegler pointed out something this morning, and he's one that is not a big fan of some of the MAGA side of the equation, although John is certainly far from a Democrat. But he said, if you look at what happened, he says Trump won on a fluke in 2016. I don't really believe it was a fluke. It was a different time, and I think he caught a moment. Yeah. But then he says, look, got crushed in 18, lost an incumbent in 20, got generally beaten in 22, ran against a geriatric who was replaced under absurd circumstances by a horrible candidate in 24, helped cause a disaster in 25. Now, I think John is putting a little bit too much of the disaster spin on this, but there's no doubt that when Trump's not on this ballot, people are not motivated to come out in an election like this.
Well, I don't know. What is 2022? They got the Senate. So that's a midterm election under Joe Biden. So they got the Senate and they flipped the House. So now they're in power again in the Senate. They have the House and they have the president. Now keep in mind Kamala Harris got $1 billion, 107 days, no scrutiny, no worry about wearing her out and exposing her during the primary season. She gets to run from the White House. So, for a while they said, how can she be beat? They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe how great she was. New spirit. So now they want to rewrite and says weak candidate. When you say fluke in 2016, no, I mean that's just a lazy
Well, I don't agree with that. I mean, John and I
but,
disagree
mean,
on a lot of
it's just
stuff.
dumb.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just a dumb statement.
yeah.
Because you see the electoral votes, you see how he won Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Is that a fluke?
No.
Is Wisconsin a fluke and Pennsylvania a fluke?
No, what was a fluke is a lot of us, and I'll admit to be one of these people, kind of missed some of the tea leaves. Now, I knew that there were working class people, in my neck of the woods that were very disappointed and were going to vote for Trump. I just was one that didn't think he could electorally, carry those other states. And let's face it, he did it a couple of times. So I don't agree with everything that was in that tweet. But when it comes to the deeper meaning here with Mamdani in particular, Brian, because look, Brandon Johnson, we have a mayor here in St. Louis that actually is doing her job and she's not attaching her name to national issues. But when you hear Mamdani talking about Trump,
if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him.
So I thought he was supposed to be mayor of New York City, not someone who's always butting heads and making Donald Trump the story. Didn't he campaign on affordability and, grocery stores that are owned by the government? Why do you even have to mention Trump? Well, you do, because it's the only thing that matters to these Democrats.
Yes, and what happens is maybe we could not focus on what he's not getting done and focus on who got the best tweet off or TikTok post against Trump. So I just think that they'll be nonstop. Remember congestion pricing? We got it. Trump's still trying to take it away from Hochul. So if you think that he's serious about that, if you don't think if you thought he was serious about that, he's indefatigable. He's not going to stop. And when it comes to New York, he's going to make sure they don't get anything. Look, we watched New York get dumped on with all the illegal immigrants. They wouldn't even let Eric Adams into the White House. The FBI grabbed his phone. I still don't know what he did. So New York paid a price because Eric Adams spoke up and said illegal immigration is killing the city. It's costing us billions. They didn't get billions. Instead, he got ripped. Got ripped by the administration and ignored. So what do you think that Mamdani is going to need? A lot of federal funding. They got to get all these infrastructure projects going. They got to get money for their subways, but they don't want to protect their subways. And by the way, I think you're going to lose Jessica Lynch as police commissioner. The flyer commissioner already resigned. Says they want no part of this guy.
Wow.
Said, the way his stance on Jews. So he's out. I hope Jessica Lynch says I'm done. Because even though it would be bad for me because it jeopardizes crime and punishment, he does not want to empower his police commissioners. He wants to make sure an independent panel decides if a cop needs to be disciplined. And they want to send social workers to domestic disputes.
Yeah. Oh, good luck with that. Unbelievable. Brian Kilmeade back with us this afternoon. Do you think, or are you sensing anything today as far as a shifting sentiment on the shutdown? We're at day 36 now, so we're a little bit of record territory, and there doesn't seem to be any movement. But there's a lot of concern. I know you've probably talked about this with air travel and some of the delays, and we're getting close to the holidays. So what are you hearing on Capitol Hill or from Capitol Hill?
I heard it's gonna end this week. So that's what I'm hoping. Because the Democrats, what they do is provide 5 senators. Republicans aren't moving. They're not going to say, you know what, let's bring USAID back and all those things we said about it.
Let's refund NPR.
Let's extend Obamacare. Let's just take a loss.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen for sure. What do you got coming up on Sunday night?
I think you guys are going to love it. Mike Rowe and Jim Farley. He is the president of Ford. Mike Rowe is Mr. Blue Collar. They're working together to try to get their workforce, pipe fitters, plumbers, and blue-collar workers to build some of these power stations. And they're going to come on and talk about that. And we're going to talk about what Farley saw when he went to China. And he says, we're out of the car business if we let Chinese cars in here. They have basically making pennies on the dollar, putting together very good, solid cars, but the finances don't really add up. So it will be impossible to compete. And what they're doing in manufacturing is really impressive and doing a lot of robotics. I'm going to talk about that. 16,000 laid off on Amazon. What does that mean for blue-collar workers? 16,000. UPS has got 8,000 are laying off. What's that going to mean for everybody? And Senator Dave McCormick is going to be on. And we're working on the woman, professional soccer player, played 11 years in the league, really respected, didn't take a knee when everyone was doing that during George Floyd riots. Came out and demanded the NWSL make a policy on men in women's professional soccer, and her teammates turned on her, had press conferences calling her out.
You have
So
perfectly
I viewed it
set
for
me
3
up.
minutes today. I'm thinking about getting her on Sunday.
I want to thank you for making a perfect segue this afternoon because I'm going to speak with the one, the only Michele Tafoya on that very topic about Elizabeth Eddy and all that National Women's Soccer League stuff because I find it interesting. Brian, you have a great week, a great weekend. We'll talk next week.
All right.
All right,
Thank you
take
very
care.
much, Mark.
Yep.
Go
One
get-
Nation airs 9 p.m. Sunday night here on, on television, on Fox. He has the radio show here on 97.1 FM Talk. By the way, just to close the loop on some of the meanings and interpretations from last night, my friend David Strom, who's over at Hot Air, I think summed it up this way. What does it all mean, right? What lessons should we learn? What's the takeaways from last night? One, Democrats are fine with politicians who talk about killing Republicans. That's indisputable. Second, voters respond to economics more than rhetoric, and while the economics of Democrats don't add up, economic anxiety means people want to change. I think there's truth to that. Third, the young are truly, madly, deeply stupid and ill-educated. No doubt about that one. Fourth, young women. Well, it's obvious that there is a mental health crisis. It will hopefully burn itself out somehow or not. Dave said civilizations do fall, and it's usually because they rotted from within. It's scary, some of the stuff's out there. And I know that, Brian said something about some of the job losses. I've had a topic for a little while because I want to kind of tie that in with AI and some of the things that are happening because I do think that some of the AI stuff is frightening right now and the implications of that. The Wall Street Journal had a piece about 10 days ago about some of these layoffs and the implications for white-collar workers in particular. So that's a topic I'm going to probably explore a little bit more. Might have to wait until next week. Michele Tafoya is coming up here. She's the host of the Michele Tafoya podcast for nearly 3 decades. Of course, she reported on football, etc. She's joining us next on 97.1 FM Talk. Let me talk about Michael's Carpet and Linoleum because they do a great job, Michael's does, with all the work here in St. Louis. It was last October when I employed them or hired them to do a job that they did a fantastic work on in 2 rooms in my house, and then we expanded the project. And one of the things I always recommend with Michael's is go into one of the 3 locations. They're awesome. You can be a little overwhelmed with the selection, the opportunities that you have for flooring, whether they're soft or hard flooring, lots of price points, lots of differences based on lifestyle, which is why you don't want to go to a big box store. And you don't want to put your trust in someone who does not have experience in this particular industry. Michael's has that. He's been doing this for decades. Mike started in the industry when he was, when he was 26. No, it wasn't when he was 10. It was when he was 26. The website has everything you need. IGotFloor.com for Michael's Flooring Outlet. Sue, just take it away. I got no music for you.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've had some issues on the roads, and westbound 64 is lined up. It's almost Kings Highway out through McCausland. But the issue is an accident eastbound 6440 at Mason. And then we had an accident reported on 141 south of 6440. And it looks to me like it's south of Clayton Road as well. So we've got northbound jammed and southbound jammed south of Clayton Road. So kind of a mess through there. If you are taking 70 out of downtown, it's a little slow in the Salisbury area, and then it opens up. 64, just the usual volume, at least that starts at Hampton. But 55 is slow, and then south of Arsenal in the usual area, headed down toward Bates. We look fine on the Illinois side at this hour. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership, and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
Hi, it's Mark Cox. When I endorse a product or service on the radio, I take it seriously. I do my research. I did the same when I first met Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty over 5 years ago. Gloria is here in studio today, and I'll ask the same question I asked you when we first met and before you helped me sell my home. Gloria, tell us, what sets you apart from other agents?
Well, number one is my guaranteed offers. I'm so confident that I'll sell your home at 100% of market value, or I'll pay the difference. Number two is I already have the buyers, so your home may already be sold. I literally have thousands of buyers in my Buyers in Waiting program. This is how I'm able to create higher demand, more offers, and that means more money in your pocket.
Friends, get to know Gloria Lou like I have. Upfront written guarantees with the least hassle. Call Gloria Lou right now at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, health care, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From the gateway city to the front lines of freedom. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Brian Kilmeade for walking us into our next topic, because I have talked about this Elizabeth Eddy New York Post op-ed and then the reaction, which I think is very strange, from her teammates in the National Women's Soccer League. Michele Tafoya is with us this afternoon. She hosts the Michele Tafoya podcast. Hi, Michele. How are you? Welcome back. Interesting week so far,
Thanks.
isn't it?
Yeah, to say the least. To say the least.
So, for people who aren't dialed into this, and I mentioned I had Brian Kilmeade on a few minutes ago, and he's going to cover this on his Sunday night show, which airs at 9 p.m. here in St. Louis. But Elizabeth Eddy writes this piece. It goes back to last week, October 27th, in the New York Post, basically saying, and she's a very successful player. She's been in the league for, many years, and is not exactly a small-time player. But she writes this piece that says, look, we have to make sure that we're maintaining the dignity of our sport for women. Correct, Michele? And that sets off a firestorm.
Yeah. Well, it's the National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL, okay? So that means it's the league for women, because there's already a men's league. The men play Premier, they play MLS. This is the Women's Soccer League. And so this woman, Elizabeth Eddy, puts together this really thoughtful, respectful, very even-handed letter.
Agreed.
In the New York Post, or editorial in the New York Post, where she says, ours is a women's league. Apparently there are a player or two who are in the league who are not XX of their chromosomes. There's a Y in there. And what she's saying is, this is not right. They're taking roster spots from women. And, and again, she did it respectfully. So said, how can we approach this? How do we solve this problem? Maybe it's a cheek swab. Maybe it's a blood test. Nothing invasive, nothing disrespectful, but this is a women's league. So that goes out, and it sits there for a while. And then a couple of her teammates do this press conference where they say they are disgusted by what she wrote, that they feel it is transphobic and even racist, because apparently the photo that ran with this article in the New York Post was of a black athlete. Okay, so they called it racist, they called it transphobic, they called it disgusting, they called it all of these things. I read the entire thing twice, and I thought that there's nothing disrespectful in here. This is a way of solving a problem that we think, it's over, but it's not. And so I just thought the reaction was unbelievable.
Yeah, so let me play a little bit of that, because this was, I believe, even the captain of the team,
That article does not speak for this team in this locker room. They are disgusted by some of the things that were said in the article, and it's really important for me to say that.
I just want everyone to know that we're doing our best in the locker room to preserve respect and belonging on this team, and we look forward to ending the season on as positive of a note as possible.
Okay, so we've seen this happen before where people have, set up. But what's unique here is that there's a claim. This is where I'm confused. I'm going to admit that I'm very confused because some people are saying on the one hand, there's no trans players in the National Women's Soccer League. But then the picture and the reason they thought it was racist is because there's a forward that plays for Orlando, the Pride. Barbara Banda is her name. And, I mean, Jen Say, Jen. Jen's a guest on my show quite often. She might be on tomorrow. She's out there on the X, and other people are saying basically this is a man. So what do you know? Is it one of those situations that's similar to what happened in the U.S. boxing controversy where it wasn't necessarily a trans person, but there were questions of chromosomes? Do you know what really is happening here? Because it's confusing, Michelle.
That part is confusing with this Barbara Banda. I am with you on that, but I don't believe this is an XX individual. And so hopefully when you have Jen on tomorrow, because I know she's researched this more than I have, and Jen and I are good friends as well. Maybe she can enlighten you. And I wish I had it at my fingertips. I don't.
No, that's okay.
But you're right. I mean, remember in boxing in the Olympics, there was this very bizarre little situation, and I say bizarre in that they claimed this person was neither XX nor XY, but some sort of in between. And there is a term for it, which is slipping my mind, but it is there. It is out there. But the problem is that there's still a chromosomal and a DNA advantage in those players that are not XX. And it's patently unfair. And here's the slippery slope. Let's put it bluntly. If you suddenly had a bunch of guys who couldn't make it in the Premier League or MSL, they couldn't make it in a men's league, and they decided, you know what, I'm just going to present as a woman, identify as a woman, and go make money in the WSL because they're inclusive. I'll just say I'm trans. I'm a trans woman, and I can play. And the next thing you know, you have a lot of these players coming in. Just take it to the next level. Do some second-level thinking here. At what point do women say, okay, now we draw the line? Because you've got an entire lot of biological men who are trans women, and that's unfair. Where do you draw that line? Why not draw it now just to say it's the National Women's Soccer League, and a woman is a person with XX chromosomes?
The thing that I want to go back to what you said about Eddie's op-ed, because it was very, well professionally done. It wasn't, hate-filled or whatever people want to say. But the reaction from these other women in the league was quite something. And I guess it was because of this one player, Banda, and because she was pictured. But there just seems to be a lot more there underneath the surface. And I'll be very curious to see where that, kind of takes us. Now, this is also happening on the same week where you had someone, I played the audio of this yesterday at a Gold's Gym in California, basically say, I don't want a man undressing in front of me. I had just had this person next to me with his junk out, and it was a trans person. And they actually kick the woman out who's trying to highlight the fact that men should not be in women's locker rooms. They make her get kicked out of Gold's Gym, and she's no longer a member. The world is upside down, Michele Tafoya.
It is. And this woman, who happens to be a musician in L.A., she's a lesbian. Okay? I don't know if that
makes it even better. I did not know that. Yeah.
Yeah, which struck me even more because, they say if you're a lesbian, you're part of the LGBTQRSTUVW, that community. And she was saying, look, I don't care. You're a man and you're undressed in front of me and you're looking at me. I don't want it. And, there were several videos of her, one where she was reacting and yelling at this guy, one where she was getting kicked out of Gold's, and another in her car afterward where she was really trying to explain what's going on here. And apparently it sounds like she had a rough childhood and this really triggered something in her, and it's heartbreaking. But the problem is it's not just her. It's so many women. Now, look, if you want to identify as trans and you want to give the trans community their own locker room, fine.
Go for it.
But,
right.
Let's just, when you get so inclusive, then you know what? you end up being exclusive because that woman, that lesbian, that woman who didn't want that man in her locker room, she's been booted. How inclusive is that? She got kicked out. That's your inclusivity for you.
It's unbelievable. It really is. Now, again, you know, what I said yesterday was you have to – I'm not defending Gold's Gym and some of these other gyms that do this. We had a situation here with a Lifetime Fitness out in West St. Louis County about a year ago. The same thing happened. Now, this might not apply in Missouri, but in California and some of these other states in particular, I think the lawyers at the fitness clubs, et cetera, feel that the law is not on their side because of the radical nature of what they pass in California. So they're worried about lawsuits in the other direction, which is weird. Again, it's upside down, but that's part of the equation.
It is part of the equation, and it's going to take some real spine from, and I think you're just going to have this coalition of courage with a lot of people coming forward and saying, let's sue. We see that this law is there, but you know what? We feel like our civil rights are being violated, and let's file a lawsuit and let's take this all the way to the Supreme Court if you have to, because it's upside down, it's ridiculous. Everyone can see it's ridiculous, right? But for some reason, everyone's paralyzed by fear of looking insensitive, of looking intolerant, of looking, transphobic. There's nothing phobic about this. This is a matter of, I want my dignity, I want my privacy, and there's a guy in here. And by the way, people did some deep dives on this guy or this trans woman. He has a criminal background. He's got a very odd background.
That doesn't surprise me.
And, and so that takes it even one step further. And the fact that this woman got kicked off, it's just absolutely insane and absurd.
Well, and you know what happened in our situation that I referred to, this was someone that was clearly trying to poke the bear. And I don't know if the situation occurred in California. They were trying to make a moment of this and be the victim, and it didn't quite work out for the person here in St. Louis. But that was interesting. And all this stuff with the National Women's Soccer League is fascinating to me because I'd love to see the way it's all going to turn out. Now, quickly, since I have you, I did a whole monologue. I talked with Brian about the election results. Any thoughts about what happened yesterday? Look, these were blue states. I don't think it means a whole lot for what's going to happen a year from now in the midterms, except for this. And this is where I think J.D. Vance, except for the affordability issue, which is clearly something the Democrats tapped into. I'd say that the Republicans tapped into that a year ago with inflation, but that's not something to ignore moving forward into the midterms, the affordability issue.
It's not, but what is affordable? I mean,
I know,
are these people drinking their Starbucks and on their iPhone 17s and carrying around their expensive laptops and headphones, but they can't afford a $6 salad? I don't know what it means, and it's nebulous on purpose. So there's that. By the way, I've seen gas prices as low as I've seen them in years.
Oh, here too.
Here where I live in Minnesota. So I think Republicans need to get that word out. The most disappointing, there were two. I thought Jack Ciattarelli had a really good shot in New Jersey, and I'm devastated that Jay Jones can text someone that he'd rather put a bullet in somebody's head, and he's now the Attorney General for the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Michelle, that's the one that just blows me away. I cannot believe it. I get it because, again, these are blue states. I've followed this. I thought it was a miracle when Glenn Youngkin won 4 years ago, but I was happy for him and Winston. But, the fact that Jay Jones was still able to win pretty comfortably, that baffles me. But that's the hatred of Trump, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that, look, Youngkin had a really high approval rating just the other day. I think he's at 57%. They either should have found the right candidate or made Winsome Earl Sears more palatable, and he should have been out there for her from the very, very beginning. And if not, they should have found a candidate that Glenn Youngkin could proudly stand beside. So, when you've got popularity like that in a blue state and you're a Republican, you got to build on that.
Yeah, I was confused by it. And, of course, Winsome didn't, say great things about Trump, so then Trump sort of doesn't get involved, and that may have been part of the problem as well. Michele Tafoya, you can check out the Michele Tafoya podcast. Always great to have you on here in St. Louis. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right,
take
care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got a jam on southbound 270. If that's part of your commute, it lines up from Page down through 64. And there was an accident reported northbound 270 at 6440. That's created a parking lot jam that goes back almost to Doherty Ferry. 44 westbound slowing at 270. Just a mess on 141. And this is in both directions south of 64. But southbound is really slow, headed down toward Manchester. But northbound is slowing north of Manchester. Then 141 jams again as you head down south of Big Bend through 44. Now, if you're just westbound on 6440, we've got volume, and it's Kings Highway out through 270, and then it picks up again as you head for Winghaven in the construction zone out through 70. 70 westbound slow out of downtown at Jennings Station. Moderate volume past the airport. But we look fine if you're headed into Illinois. 6440 is a little slow headed for the bridge, but the bridge itself, I mean the Poplar and the other ones, look good. Southbound 55, slow south of Arsenal through Bates. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's an annual tradition, the Florissant Veterans Day Parade at 1 p.m. on Sunday, November 9th. Come out and show your support as we salute the brave men and women who serve our nation. Details and parade route at 971talk.com/events.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $139 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
We called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
they came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install a Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Sponsored by Progressive. We make the claims process easy so you could get back on the road in no time. It's why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive. See for yourself at progressive.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You have no idea how much I want to hook up with Jen Say on this topic of Elizabeth Eddy because she's fired up about it. She's been tweeting about it. She's part of the Patriot Awards that they're doing on Fox, so she's traveling and she's a little busy with that. But I know that she wants to come on and talk about this. But she obviously has been tweeting very actively about Elizabeth Eddy, who wrote this piece in the New York Post. And Brian mentioned this as well. And Brian interviewed Elizabeth and, asked some of the motives here and some of the things that are happening in the aftermath of what she wrote.
Reasonable people can disagree on this topic, but there's no need to go to bullying and name-calling because it doesn't set a good example for anyone. But furthermore, these teammates are my friends, and I've known them for a very long time. And in fact, they've been invited to my wedding, and the invite still stands. They have said, yes, I hope they come. And I think it's super important to offer an olive branch because at the end of the day, we're all humans, and getting on the same page and choosing to work together, I think, is very important.
Okay, but it doesn't sound, you tell me, does it sound like this person here is going to go to the wedding?
We don't agree with the things written for a plethora of reasons, but mostly the undertones come across as transphobic and racist as well. The article calls for genetic testing on certain players, and it has a photo of an African player as the headline, and that's very harmful. And to me, it's inherently racist.
Yeah, it's always racism involved here as well. But here's Elizabeth one more time.
I would say in the professional sports world, it's really tricky because speaking out is a really difficult thing to do because think about it. The mindset as a pro athlete is, I work my entire life for this. I'll do anything it takes, whatever the cost. And then the flip side of that is, even if I stay silent, even if I go along to get along, I'm willing to do that to play. So I think at the end of the day, a lot of my teammates, a lot of my peers do agree with what I'm trying to share, but they want to play back more than they want to speak up, and I understand that, and so there's a lot of fear involved because there's a high cost for it.
Oh, absolutely, which is why we've been asking, and, we need someone, nobody knew her name, Elizabeth Eddy, very few people before this op-ed, but we need someone where people do know the name to come forward and say enough is enough. And we're still, I think, a little ways away from that, unfortunately. We have our friend Alex Rich, who visits with us on a Wednesday afternoon. I got a bunch of topics we want to get into. Also, we have the connection that I have with Joe Arnold down in Louisville, who is a dear friend of Scott Jennings, which is how I met Jennings in the first place. Joe is going to weigh in. Did you see that UPS plane crash, Sue?
Oh, it was terrible.
Unbelievable. We have more answers about what happened, and Joe's going to help us out here a little bit after 4 o'clock. Then Sue's News on a Wednesday afternoon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you are just headed out, if you're headed into Illinois, there's some volume on eastbound 6440 headed for the bridge, but it's not bad on the Illinois side itself. Now, watch out for a stall eastbound 44 past 270. Watch for that one on the right side. But most of the volume right now is on southbound 270, Page through 64, and northbound from approaching Manchester on up through 64. There was an accident there. We had an accident earlier eastbound 6440 at Mason. A lot of volume on 141 on either side of 6440 in all kinds of directions. And southbound 55 slowing south of Arsenal down through Bates. Out west, it isn't bad yet. Some moderate volume on 70 headed for Wentzville and 64 coming off the Boone Bridge. But again, just spotty. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Attention veterans and active military. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is giving veterans and active military 10% off all month. That's 10% off all doors, openers, and any service or repair. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has zero outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks, copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
If you're thinking about replacing your windows before winter hits, which is smart, don't keep making the same mistake. Stop replacing your failing vinyl windows on your home now with more vinyl. Lakeside Renovation and Design will install Infinity from Marvin fiberglass windows. They're built to last, they're energy efficient, plus they look stunning, and they're custom built for your home. Installed by Lakeside's expert team, and they're going to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. If you're ready to upgrade your windows once and for all, you need to visit windowsbylakeside.com. Schedule your free consultation today.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
You know, I am not a Tom Brady hater. I kind of have a lot of respect for him as a professional football player. When it comes to cloning his dogs, I might have a different view. We're going to talk about that coming up.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A big cut in U.S. air travel. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The FAA just announcing a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 major airports to maintain safety as a government shutdown continues.
I anticipate there will be additional disruptions. There will be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the capacity reductions are part of a larger plan to reduce the pressure on airport staffing, as some of the air traffic controllers working without pay miss work, taking other jobs to support their families. The House and Senate Democratic leaders sending a letter demanding a meeting with the president on the shutdown and health care costs. President Trump telling Fox's Bret Baier Democrats need to support a stopgap bill to reopen government.
They become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
The president, citing pollsters, also says the shutdown was a big factor in Republican election losses yesterday. But House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries hears a different message.
An extraordinary rejection of the extremism that the American people have been experiencing since day one of Donald Trump's presidency.
Fox's Bret Baier speaks with the president and also with Jeffries, airing tonight on Special Report 1 hour from now, 6 Eastern. The NTSB says the left wing caught fire and an engine fell off as a UPS plane crashed shortly after takeoff yesterday in Louisville, gaining enough altitude to clear a fence at the end of the runway.
Shortly after clearing that fence, it made impact with structures and the terrain off of the airport property.
NTSB Chair Todd Inman says they have the flight data and cockpit voice recorders. That crash now blamed for at least 11 deaths. America is listening to Fox News.
An official message from Medicare. Couple more minutes and we'll start this month's book club.
You know, I usually love a plot twist, but this year I'm comparing my options during Medicare open enrollment.
You can't assume your current health or drug plan is the best one for you.
And you gotta make sure your drugs are covered. That's important.
So is saving money. Review all your options at Medicare.gov. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Our temperatures will be bouncing around over the next couple of days. We are clear and we are cold overnight tonight. We drop into the 50s this evening. 41 for the low. Thursday, sunny skies, windy. 65, that's a little bit above average. Thursday night, clouds, maybe a spot rain shower. Spots, the key word. 55. Friday, a spot shower in the morning. Otherwise, partly sunny and windy, 71 degrees. Here comes a rush from the Arctic. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we get a nice visit every Wednesday afternoon with our friend Alex Rich, who has joined us in the studio with Fred, the Hall of Famer, and Sue.
How about old Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
You know, I had a Kenny Wallace interaction today on the X, formerly Twitter. Can I explain that here? Just
yes,
briefly?
please. Yes.
Well, because somebody, let me see, I got to see where
Mark Martin's
said
staying with
something.
him, isn't he?
There was something related to Mark Martin, but he was, you know, Kenny is always tweeting, right? And somebody said to him, and then he retweeted this guy. Some guy said, I think you're dishonest sometimes to stir up attention, but I ain't hating you for it. So my response was, dishonest? More like too honest, and people can't handle it. And he agreed with me on that. I got some good news, Alex. You like this, although you didn't hear the original story. So you know the new puppy that I got, Max, who was 8 months old? Well, I almost lost him a couple of days ago because I let him off the leash at George Winter Park, and for the second time in a week, he ditched out. He ended up at Rottler Pest Control off of Old 141. They called me. So, you know, kind of letting him off the leash, not a great idea. Now, the reason that I've been trying to get him exercise more is because he was prohibited from going to No Leash Needed because he had these things called puppy warts. Sue, he has been freed.
Oh, thank goodness.
He was been okayed for puppy daycare, so he's back at puppy daycare. Thank God, because this dog is driving me crazy at night because he's got so much energy.
Yeah, that's the life of the puppy.
Right. But he was so happy when I brought him in there today to see his friends. It is, and it's very good that
And he'll
we
live
finally got him
now
back.
because he won't be out running across busy streets.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
Look, you know, my intent was genuine. I just wanted to get the damn dog exercise off the leash, but I have to be careful with that. But No Leash Needed
It's
takes
really a
great care of
noble
him.
thing of you to do, actually.
Right.
What, to keep my dog alive, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever, dude. I'm just honest about the story. I could have not told you guys that story, but I did. I share my inefficiencies, if you will. One of the big stories nationally is, and I remember, Fred, we were on the air yesterday when this started to break, and I started seeing some of the images from Louisville, Kentucky. That's where our friend Joe Arnold is this afternoon. He is a former media star in Louisville. We still employ him as our media star because he's a local guy as well. How are you, Joe?
Good to hear your voice. And congratulations to Fred for tracking down the Toronto Blue Jays fans. I'm excited to hear the interview.
Yeah, that was really good.
Well, let me stop you right there and explain that. So Joe sends this article about a father and son who caught the 2 home run balls from Saturday night, Alex, back to back.
You're kidding.
Father and son, right? And it gets better than that. They had fake balls with them so they could throw it onto the field and not throw the real home run back. So it's amazing.
Even better, they plan this whole night out.
But Joe Arnold sent that story, and he said Fred can book anyone. And Fred nailed him. And
how did you get these people?
He got John, the
Fred.
father.
He's Fred.
I went on the internet, looked up his name and the city, and I had to go into an old court document. And in the court document was his business, and the business email was there.
Don't tell your secrets. Shh.
And that's how I found it.
That's
awesome,
but,
Fred.
Joe, you should listen to the segment. It was really cool. I mean, he wasn't the quickest storyteller on the planet, Sue.
Well, no, he wasn't.
but it was a great
that's
story.
Not his job, right?
All right, so what happened down there with this UPS flight? Because we saw this kind of unfolding. It doesn't get as much attention nationally, maybe because of the election. But what do we know now about what happened yesterday?
It was about 5:15 local time, 4:15 St. Louis time yesterday afternoon, normal day. You know, UPS Worldport is in Louisville. Like Memphis is the home of FedEx, Louisville is the home of UPS Airlines. So we have literally hundreds of flights every day in and out, moving, 2 million packages every day out of Louisville on UPS. So it's big corporate partner, everyone knows someone who works at UPS.
Right.
My next door neighbor is a retired pilot. The plane was heading down the runway, heading south, and there happened to be somebody on the tarmac, I think in an airport vehicle, that saw like a flare or whatever, began rolling on his phone, so you could see the actual, what was going on. What we didn't see on there, but was evident later on, was the NTSB today confirmed that the left engine detached from the plane. That apparently, and that was the big first fire and flames you saw as the plane was struggling to take off. And then, of course, you lose the pilots lost control. 3 people on board, and it just gashed through a warehouse right on the other. It cleared the fence at the end of the runway, but then it began to sort of like this gashing through the top of a warehouse and then kind of cartwheeling. It half a mile of debris, but of course, because this was a huge or a long flight, this is going to Honolulu. It was carrying about 35,000 gallons. It's about maybe 220,000 pounds of fuel. Well, that, of course, resulted in this tremendous explosion and fireball, and not just, of course, in one location, but along the half-mile stretch because of how far it was thrown, because of the energy as it was taking off.
Yeah, I was playing some of the sound there, and here's what the fire chief said today.
I don't know how many victims we're actually looking for. That's one of the issues, and the debris zone is so large. So trying to get people back there, and with the debris zone, some of that debris is going to have to be moved and searched underneath. So it will take us quite a while.
So, Joe, I was reading a story about the crash, and this is interesting. In May of 1979, I moved to St. Louis in November of 1979. I was a freshman in high school. My dad got transferred here. We lived in Niles, Illinois, right across from Notre Dame High School off of Dempster, for people who know that area. Not too far from O'Hare International, several miles. But in May of 1979, there was a terrible plane crash. 273 people were killed. And in the AP story about what happened in Louisville, there's a guy that says, and he's the CEO of this aviation consulting firm called Safety Operating Systems. He said he could recall one other instance when one of the same General Electric engines detached from a plane, and that was that crash in 1979. And they blamed the crash on improper maintenance before that happened. But that was kind of, because look, I don't know if where you were yesterday, you could see all the smoke because the smoke was crazy, but I can flash back to May of 1979. My dad worked right across from O'Hare, and I could still see the smoke over that high school that I lived across from. That's how much of an impression it made.
No, it pretty much covered the entire area. In fact, schools were closed today because of the air quality concern, and also testing air and water quality. All the public schools were closed across the county. I should point out, and just to update as far as what the fire chief was saying, the death toll just was updated about maybe 15 minutes ago, is now up to 11. It's still unclear to me whether the 3 crew members are included in there, because the mayor was saying that they have found 11 victims. I don't know if they have found the victims who were on the actual flight, that the 3 crew members themselves. And, of course, I was wondering if, since it was going to Honolulu, were there any people in the jump seats? And that I haven't heard an answer to that question yet. Also, tragically, one of the victims is a child. And what we don't know is, there are several businesses there. It's an industrial area, but there's several businesses there, on the other end of the other side of those buildings there, and where it exploded. So there are people who are working there. Presumably, someone had their child there with them, and who's to say? There also are people. There are 50 people injured, some critically with burns in the hospital. So this not only affected the people, and you hate to say thankfully, but obviously this was not a passenger jet. This was a cargo jet.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. As far as that. The other thing, though, and you've been to Louisville, and this is very close to Churchill Downs, the airport is, Mark, where you've been a lot. Fern Valley Road, this is like basically it's maybe half a mile away. That's the Louisville Ford plant, fully employed, fully going, and that could have very easily hit the plant. So you hate to say, because people are dead and there are victims, and just the randomness of life here. But I'm just saying that the death toll could have been tremendously worse.
And now this is not a priority. I don't want anyone to misunderstand. But I mean, obviously, one of the implications of this is UPS has got everything on hold, and there are packages that are just simply going to be delayed because of this crash. Not to mention the packages that were on the plane. But it's a terrible situation, and hopefully we'll continue to get more answers. But Joe, you would agree, like, this has been the weirdest year with aviation. I mean, we've had aviation accident after aviation accident, and it's bizarre, especially when you see one like this with the big plume of smoke and all the flames. So to your point, I think it is lucky.
If I could, and I'm always shouting out for Kentuckians, the NTSB commissioner who's on the scene is a friend of mine and Scott's. His name is Todd Inman. You might recall seeing him after the terrible midair collision at Reagan National. He's just a tremendous person. I have complete confidence in what he's doing there, and he has already, I think, made a big difference on the ground here. So keep an eye out for Todd.
That's good to hear. Yeah, you referred to Jennings. I know he had a full plate last night in the aftermath of the election, and his book is getting very close to the release date, isn't it, Joe?
just about a week away. Looking forward to it, and of course, we'll be talking about it. You'll be hearing it, on your radio station, and I guess in about a week.
Yep.
In fact, Mark, I'm going to make my debut on Scott's show. We've decided to have me come in and interview him about the book for one special show. So
I love that. Are you really?
I get to make my debut.
Okay. Well, when
you let me guest host your show like years ago, but I've never been called back, so I guess that didn't work out. So Scott's going to let me.
When that happens, I want you to tell us, and we want to because we air his show at 8:00. Okay, so
right.
I want you on, not Jennings. We'll hear enough from him, right, about the book.
God bless you.
Definitely tell us when that's going to happen because I'm very curious about that for sure. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's his ego right now? 13, 14?
I don't think it's changed. It's always been sort of. That's what it is.
He's got a lot of attention, man. I looked at the X today when I was opening up, and it said trending. Scott Jennings. Yeah. Scott Jennings is trending. Joe, thank you so much for the report down there. Appreciate it. All right, see ya.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, it started as a vehicle fire, and then they moved it off to the right side. We're just calling it an accident now, but it's northbound 270 at 6440, the right lane blocked. Traffic is jammed behind it, and it's slow back to Big Bend. Well, we've also got an accident eastbound 6440. There was one near Mason. Now it looks like we've got one closer to Maryville Center, but a slow go behind it. Southbound 141 jammed at Conway, but so is northbound. Northbound 141 jams at 64, and it's a real jam southbound approaching Big Bend down through 44. It's one of those afternoons. Now, 70 isn't bad. Moderate volume at Jennings Station Road leaving downtown. And 64, though, is lined up at Kings Highway, and then it's pockets all the way out through the 70 split. We're fine on the bridges downtown, a little bit slow coming off the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge into Illinois. This report brought to you by Aspen Contracting. Aspen Contracting is going to help with your siding. If that's where you have an issue, that's where they can help. In fact, it could be dragging down your home's curb appeal. So go to Aspen Contracting and let them take a look at it. Just give them a call, 636-465-1696, and they'll do a free inspection. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
You get to say some more things here, Sue.
Oh,
that's how special you are this afternoon.
If you are thinking about retirement and suddenly it's getting all too real because it used to seem, oh, well, you know what? That's in the future. We can handle it. Well, now what? It's really getting close, so you need to learn how to handle your money in retirement. How do you know that it will make it all the way through retirement unless you do something about it? So financial and tax architects, that is where you need to be, and they will help you. But their idea is, let's educate you first. So you go to a class, and it's actually called it's Retirement Planning 101. And that's what it is. You sit down for 2.5 hours and you learn about retirement, how to handle your money, how to handle taxes, what you should do to maximize your income. It's free, the class is, but you do have to register. So go to F as in Frank, FTA-RIA.com, and take the first step toward a smarter retirement.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $139 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. I've been asked many times how Morgan & Morgan became the largest injury firm in the world. I think I know. When someone comes to us for an on-the-job injury, we have a huge workers' compensation practice. But many times we find a defective product that was responsible for that injury. Luckily for them, we have a product liability section headed by my son Mike. In addition to the comp case, there is a product case too. Other times the injured worker is fired or harassed for bringing that claim. We have them covered. Our employment lawyers handle retaliation claims as well as wage theft and discrimination cases, and in some cases need to file for Social Security benefits. No problem. We became big for a reason. 30% of our new cases come as referrals from former clients. Hiring us is easy. Go to forthepeople.com on your mobile device or computer, or call Pound Law on your cell, pound 529. Morgan & Morgan.
Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
For Veterans Day, Hanson's Tree Service is taking action. Mark Cox here. Every year, they honor local veterans through Operation SOS, serving our soldiers. It's a once-a-year program to provide free professional tree care to a few deserving veterans or military families. Nominate your hero veteran today at hansonstree.com. Hanson's Tree Service serves our soldiers with the same care and dedication they've shown our country. Go online today to hansonstree.com.
Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella Window specialist. With winter just around the corner, now is the time to think about Pella Windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction, 314-569-1050 to schedule your free in-home consultation, or the website bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
If you're trying to sell a home, there's only one agent in town that I trust, Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. My friends Mark and Neil have the best system to connect you to the best qualified buyers, getting your home sold fast and for top dollar. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Every week on the Moth Podcast, we share stories that are funny, strange, heartbreaking, and above all, true.
I myself have been married for 56 years. Unfortunately, to 4 different women.
It turns out the people I was looking for all my life is what you people would call nerds.
Follow and listen to The Moth on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Got a little music here before Sue's News. I looked up this day in music history just because I was curious, and the locomotion on this day in U.S. history became the first song to reach the U.S. top 5 in 3 different versions, because even though this is a great version, you also had, this was the song that did it here, Kylie Minogue. Remember this pop version of this way back in 1988? It wasn't the best one. You don't really? Oh. Yeah, I don't know if it was a number 1, but it was like, this was back in like the Debbie Gibson era and stuff like that. And
Sounds
she did a remake of this.
Everybody's
Yeah. But then there was the original version. Remember this one? Little Eva. It's a good version too. We got to get to the start of the song here, then we'll do Sue's News.
Everybody's doing a brand new dance now. Come on, baby.
So there you go. There's my own little musical history before Sue's News on this Wednesday afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment. It's not clear messaging. No.
And now, Sue's News, presented by U.S. Men's Medical Center.
Well, it's National Love Your Red Hair Day. Well, none of us, no, we got nothing.
No carrot tops in here.
I got 2 guys in my band are redheads.
Well, that's interesting.
Isn't that something?
That seems
When we
odd.
added the second one, I was a little unsure. Honestly, this was a real conversation.
Really? Why?
It's like,
From the aesthetics?
Well, no, I'm just kind of giving them
2
trouble.
gingers in the band?
2 gingers, and we sing Valerie, and, talk about the, you miss your ginger hair.
Oh, that's funny.
So I always do a little shout out to Jake and Drew, the 2 redhead gingers in the band, in the Alex Rich band.
Very cool.
Yep.
The fact that you have 2 is a little odd.
To me, it's just a little like
Right,
2
numbers
musicians
wise,
of my
yes.
buddies that I know. It's just the odds didn't necessarily seem in my favor, but they are.
Do they like being redheads? Is that like a stigma?
I've never really had the conversation with them.
Do you like
I think
being a
that,
redhead?
I think it, it depends who you ask. I think it depends
Fair
who you
enough.
ask. And I think it depends on the redness of their hair.
Oh, well, there's
well,
that.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
Because there is some nice, reddish hair where it's like, okay. Like Ed Sheeran's hair is a little maybe too orangish. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
So that's my
We'll
that's
further
my
handicap.
2 cents.
We'll further
on-
handicap red hair at another portion of this show, but
Yeah.
I find that intriguing.
And if you watch South Park, that means you're soulless. Isn't that it? I believe that's what they say.
Harsh.
And it's National Donut Day, which sounds a lot better. I figured I'd come in and there would be some, but
I had
there's
2 today.
nothing.
I
You
went
had
with 2. I usually just do 1 Entenmann's, and if I'm doing
Yeah.
the donuts, I do like 4 or 5 of those. But I had 2 Entenmann's today. I thought,
At
you
your
know
house?
what? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you do milk with it?
I didn't this morning. I did Diet
Okay.
Coke, but sure.
Sure, Diet Coke and a
Diet
donut's
Coke?
always good.
Oh, it's nothing
boy.
better.
It
It's pure
is.
Americana, Alex. You know it.
Oh,
I already know.
Ugh. On this day in history, 90 years ago, I bring this up. I mean, I come from a board game family, but we were more words. So we never played this. But 90 years ago today, Monopoly was introduced. It was 1935, and the Parker Brothers Company brought it up or invented it. Did you play it, Mark?
Okay, I did. We played it a lot, but let me tell you a funny story. 2 weeks ago, this is a true story. Alexa had just been somewhere with friends, and they played Monopoly, so we busted out. Maybe even Becky ordered a new one, which is like, it's not the regular Monopoly, it's Monopoly on steroids. But here's the problem. We sat down, the 3 of us, to play.
Yeah.
I forgot how to play the damn game.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
remember all the particulars, so I stopped the game, and I said, we're not playing this until we learn. Because Alexa, my daughter, is like really good. I'm not even joking. She makes up rules. Just makes things up. Like, no, that's not. So I didn't trust her. There was a trust factor. So I need to read the instructions because I
Yeah.
really was unclear of
what
what
was
the
happening.
prices were. And I really didn't know. But we played it a lot when I was
I don't think
younger.
I've ever actually finished a game.
No,
Really?
I don't
Yeah.
think.
It takes
No.
a long time.
It's a real commitment, Monopoly.
It is. If you play Risk, no one has ever
Ooh,
finished
wow.
that game either.
Yeah, that takes a long
It's just how it is. All right, here's more music.
I like more of Candyland. It's just
Yeah.
it's
pretty.
usually about a
Yeah.
5 to 7
I like-
minute game, and
I
then
like
they're on to the
Stratego
next.
because you can blow stuff up. I
Of
kind of
course
like
you
that
do.
one. Are you looking for Led Zeppelin
I
here?
am.
All right, here we go.
This song was released 55 years ago today. Can you
Nuts.
believe it?
1970. You play any Led Zeppelin in the Alex Rich band?
You know, we don't. We might have to get there. We just got hired to do a 50th birthday party. And, the theme is like, obviously, the past 50 years. So,
That would be a good one to start. Maybe
I don't know
one
what
of the
you-
was this-
redheads can
yeah,
do
this-
this, huh?
how many years ago did we say this was?
55.
So I think that falls in the 50s range.
Well, yeah, because
Perhaps.
they extend into the early 1980s
Sure.
actually. So
And then 23 years ago, in 2002, Justin Timberlake released his debut album called Justified, featuring this, of course.
So my wife was working for music radio when I was doing talk radio in Milwaukee, and when JT was just starting off, I was taken to a show by she was my girlfriend at the time, and he warmed up for somebody. I'm trying to think who it
really?
was. I think it might have been Christina Aguilera,
Yeah,
and
that
he
is
was the
better.
warm-up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and he was,
seems-
by the way, and he was great. And that's
Yeah.
the only time I've ever seen him, but I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Maybe a bigger
I
fan
saw
of the
him here.
SNL bits that they used to do. Remember those?
Yes,
Oh
he
my
was
God.
so great.
I'm also a big JT fan. I think he's
super talented.
Yeah,
Super
he's super
talented.
talented. He is why NSYNC was popular at all.
Yeah.
And a great dancer.
Yeah,
Great
he
dancer.
is. Come on down to Omeleteville. That's what you're
That-
taking.
oh my God,
SNL.
those bits were.
SNL.
That's when SNL was funny, right?
Yes, it was. It
Those
was
were the
just
best.
ridiculous.
He also did the, I think I can say it, the Dick in the Box.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
right.
It's a
Yeah.
classic.
I
is a
always
classic.
like to maybe think that I can say something. I always hope on this show that I'm not going to get in trouble saying something.
Yeah, it's good. You
Well,
kind of ease
Fortunately
into
for
it.
you, I would be the one getting in trouble, so I think you're safe.
Well,
but
you
yes.
might have opened up a little. Shouldn't have told me that.
I don't
Mark.
think Brendan Carr is listening this afternoon. We're safe.
That's true. Some guy on TikTok said his wife wants to. She said to him yesterday, "Let's put up our Christmas decorations this week." He thinks it's too early. The traditional rule is to wait until after Thanksgiving. Obviously, the world has gone mad anyway. So they did a poll last Christmas and found most people think putting them up before Thanksgiving is totally fine now. Mark Reardon has
who's-
had a change.
Oh, listen. You know who's gone rogue on this? Like in her bedroom? Alexa Reardon.
Oh, really?
She is literally this week
What's
putting
she got, a
Christmas
tree
up.
up in
She's
her
got a
room?
little like white tree. She's got
Wow.
lights on the tree.
Wow.
She's been going into the back and getting some of the decorations, so she is full on
Look at
ready
that.
for Christmas.
I'm glad
Yeah.
this is a question because I actually think I've noticed more people this year start putting lights up right after Halloween.
Yeah,
More than I think that I've noticed in the past.
I think you're right about that.
So, Mark, your lights are up?
Yeah,
but
our
not
entire
on.
neighborhood has lights up right
Do
now.
yours stay up year round?
No.
They don't.
They take them down second week of January. But last year, I was the only house before Halloween. This year, everybody's was up before Halloween.
It's cheaper, right? Am
In
I wrong?
theory.
No, it's right. You're
in,
right.
In theory, to get it ahead of time, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
I'm
I
sure.
pay. Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
sure early November's cheaper to put your lights up than
For sure.
mid-December.
The reason they have to do it so early is these companies are overwhelmed. And a lot of them do it as a side deal, and they can't get to all the houses if they don't do it early.
You had a guy bail on you in the past, didn't you?
Yes, I did. That's a real
Yeah.
interesting story,
Of course
actually.
he did. Of course he did. 55% of people now say it's okay. 33% say unacceptable. 12% say, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. And finally, in Sue's news, which seems like a lot of words
That was
to say
good.
one
That was
thing,
good acting on
right?
your part.
Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate that. We have today's random fact. Of all the circulating U.S. currency in the world, 80% is in $100 bills. What? I guess people.
80%?
Yeah, people have more money than I do.
Yeah, apparently so.
I mean, good grief.
That's an interesting random fact, and I
And
don't have any
nearly
on me currently.
80% of $100 bills are overseas.
I'm Jennifer Scordo with Your Money Now. Pinterest shares plunged 21% as advertising took a big hit from larger retailers that are dealing with tariffs. It's the second worst day for Pinterest, only behind a more than 23% drop in May of 2022. Several banks have lowered their price targets following the earnings report. DoorDash stock also tanked 20% today as the company missed earnings. Total orders grew 21% over the prior year as the food delivery platform expects to spend several $100 million in 2026 on new initiatives and developments. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced today that he will be reducing flight capacity by 10% at 40 major airports. It's not immediately clear which airports will be affected. The reduction comes as air traffic controllers are missing paychecks due to the government shutdown. The Dow finished up 225 points today. The S&P 500 finished up the day as well, 24, and the Nasdaq ended today 151. That's Your Money Now.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code COOL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code COOL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code COOL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
One of the biggest gifts you can give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
We called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
they came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Born in the Midwest, built on common sense. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
All right, we have coming up a little bit after 5 o'clock, our friend Duane Patterson from hotair.com. There's actually a really interesting local story with a connection to Mayor Jones and her father that Jane is going to weigh in on in the 5 o'clock hour. Alex Rich is here. He visits with us on a Wednesday afternoon. Sue's got a story she wants to share. Before that, I just want to close the loop on something. When you were talking about the guy that went rogue on me, I just told this story the other night. So I don't know if you've ever heard this one. So when I was in my previous home, which was a 2-story home, and I didn't want to get on any kind of ladders, and I love Christmas, and I love Christmas lights. So the neighbor across the street from me had a dude that was putting up lights, and I said, hey, how much is it? And it was really cheap. It was just a couple $100. And I think, he provided the lights, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
So anyway, I had him do it several years at that house, moved to the new house. It might even be 9 years ago this fall, right? And he came and he did it one time. And then he never came to take him down. And I said, hey, I checked in with him, and I said, hey, and he basically said, well, I'm kind of going through a rough time, and people aren't, paying me for the blah, blah, blah. And I owed him, I think, $20 because that was the deal. Like you put your last 20 when he comes and gets the lights, right? So I felt bad for the guy.
Well, yeah.
I send him $100 on Venmo. Never heard from him again in my life.
Well, at
He
least
just
you paid
vanished.
for the lights, I guess.
Well, I had to take the lights down. Now, in all seriousness, I do think, and I want to be empathetic here because I think the guy was trouble. I think he might have had some addiction issues. But I was trying to help him out, and then I sent him the $100 and nothing. And I text him after that, say, hey, you're going to get the lights. And I just kind of, at that point, took the lights down. But anyway.
Is that common that they put up lights that aren't yours? They come and just put up whatever lights
that's
they have?
The company that I use now,
that's
Santa's
cool.
Elves, we decide which color lights. They come on. They're beautiful. If anything goes out, they'll come back and they'll replace it.
So they're basically rental lights.
Yeah. And so what's the price for something like that? What would your price be?
What would I pay?
Yeah.
As a Jewish person,
Well, you know
that's
my
never
house,
put,
though. You have to do it the size of your house.
I have nothing to base it off of.
Yeah,
I've never
you
even
got
had
nothing.
the conversation with my
Give me a
parents
price.
about it.
Sure. Give me a
I
price.
think a house like yours, I would pay these days. I would say $400 or $500.
Oh my God! If you were playing the prices wrong, you'd be nailing it right now. If you said $5, that would be too much because I had the discount. But $450.
Okay,
$450.
wow.
I got a little discount because I paid early.
I feel like that's a decent amount to pay somebody, especially
For the work.
Yeah, to get up on the roof. That's a big roof. It's a big roof, Mark.
And they look beautiful. They do. I like what they do. But
and
the,
you don't
the rest
have to
of the
worry about
neighborhood,
them at all.
No, they set the timer up
to
for me.
I'm at the point in my life where just if it's just a little bit more for something that you don't have to worry about, and it takes an extra level of stress off of your mind, why not?
I will say
I'm at
this.
the other level.
Right, Fred, I'm with you. There'll
Are
be
you?
a glow Santa Claus on the porch.
If you push me past the $500 price point, though, then I'm going to be
Yeah, I mean the
a little
price has to
uncomfortable
be
with it.
there, but I feel like what I would do it for is another story.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You know.
Well, that's fair.
So you had a story, amusement park story.
Okay, these things always freak me out. And Fred had found this story that 2 girls fell from a Ferris wheel at a Louisiana Harvest Festival with one girl hanging on to the ride before being safely caught by spectators. Now, this isn't a roller coaster. This is a Ferris wheel. So you get on and you think, all right, I'm in this little basket. It'll be fun. You go around. But something went wrong. And the victims had to be airlifted to Baton Rouge Children's Hospital. It's kind of an awful story. Wow. They actually were injured. But here's what witnesses said. They described the ride malfunctioning with one said, I looked over and the Ferris wheel, the car was kinked over. And I don't even know how it got stuck like that. Huh. But one girl actually fell and the other was like holding on for dear life. And I don't understand how that happened.
Was this at a carnival?
And they say it was a harvest festival.
So probably not like a Six Flags type thing.
Right,
No,
it doesn't
something
sound
that's
like
portable.
Yeah, right.
Myself, I'm not personally a ride person really at any.
At none of them?
I mean, at Six Flags, again, it's different. Those are like
professional.
Yeah, and those are like permanent, for the most part, permanent structured rides. I think the carnival ones always mess with you a little bit.
Have you ever
I
gone?
will say a Ferris wheel though, you get on that and you're probably like,
yes,
you're
this
like
is the
you're not on the
safest-
scrambler or anything
Right.
that's going upside down or anything. Like the Ferris wheels, what the people that don't want to get on the crazy
Get
rides get on.
By the way, have you been on the high roller in Vegas?
No.
That thing's pretty cool.
Is that the one that goes like tilts you back off the ledge? Is it the?
No, it's just a big giant Ferris wheel, and the cars can fit probably. I
Oh,
don't
you
like
know
20
what? I
people.
have been on that, and it's but that's different. It is. It's like a whole house.
It's real
that you're
slow.
inside.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
those.
and that's a massive room that you're in.
Right.
But have you ever been on a Ferris wheel with someone that tries to rock it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate
Wait,
that.
no.
It's kinda like a ski lift.
No.
Which ski lifts scare me because a lot of ski lifts don't have the bar that even comes down over in front.
Are
You know
you
what I'm talking
kidding
about?
I think that's crazy.
Are you
And
telling?
I've been
Oh,
skiing
no.
with buddies that are like they're not holding on to anything, and I'm like,
Nope.
I'm two arms around the post on the side, like, dude, we are way up here. I think it's crazy.
I do
man.
too.
No, I could not handle that. And then I was looking through other stories, and apparently, there was a couple in Kansas City. There was a teenager in Kansas City was on a roller coaster at an amusement park last month, and her seatbelt came undone mid-ride. And they had two riders sitting in front of her, and they were able to grab her. They say that one was holding her legs down so she wouldn't fly out, and the other had hold of her arms.
Yeah.
And I thought, nope.
Wow. Yeah, that'll scare you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my favorite roller coaster story is at Six Flags on Screaming Eagle.
Oh.
I was on it, and my glasses flew off of my face.
Yes.
I just assumed they were gone forever. And when we got back to the bottom, the guy behind me caught them.
Oh,
No
you're
way.
kidding.
Yeah, and he handed them to me as we were getting off. I was sick the whole ride, just thinking, oh man, I gotta get new
Oh,
glasses.
Oh my
His
gosh!
glasses.
And they
But
weren't
he-
damaged at all?
No, he just caught him
Boy,
in
that's
midair.
a
Probably
quick
didn't even see
reflexes.
anything, huh?
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Wow.
You're right.
Can I talk about Tom Brady's dog?
Oh, I
Yeah,
had
let's
that
talk
in
about
Sue's
it.
news
Okay,
as well.
so the way that this, and I here's what I would tell you. This is from the New York Times. All right, it says in retirement, Tom Brady, the former star quarterback, found what he called a second chance. Mr. Brady revealed on Tuesday that his dog Junie is actually a clone of another dog he and his ex-wife, model Giselle Bündchen, is that how you pronounce that?
I don't
Never
know.
quite sure. Shared that died in late 2023. So he put a news release out by something called Colossal Biosciences that had announced that it had acquired Viogen, a biotech company, and Viogen owns the rights to the technology that was used to clone Dolly the sheep. Remember Dolly the sheep? Oh, yeah. Can you remember when that was?
No, but
1996.
Are you serious?
That seems that was a big deal. I
it
can't
was
believe
a
it was that
huge
long
deal.
ago. So Brady is an investor in Colossal, and he said he had worked with the company a few years ago that the cloning process required a simple blood draw from the family's aging pit bull mix, Lua, before she died. So he says, in a few short months, Colossal gave my family a second chance with a clone of our beloved dog. I think it's creepy, personally. Alex, you thought you would do something like this.
I kind of like it. I
Really?
kind of like it. Uh-huh.
Okay, I have
Why,
many
though?
questions.
Yeah, me too, Sue.
But one of them is, does it have the same personality? I don't think that's possible.
I
Is it?
think that this is kind of crazy, but obviously I didn't clone the dog that we recently just lost, but like we got another dog. Now, I know dogs, like the breeds have personalities, so I know that that's part of it, but like the dog we got has a lot of like similarities to, the one that just passed away. So like I like the idea of the cloning it so that there's like similar personalities. Not that it's maybe exactly the same one.
Because that's
No, what they say is, Sue, to your
Yes.
point, that it does not resurrect a personality. It creates a genetic twin.
I was going to
So,
say. So
you know, and they say
it just looks like your dog.
right.
It looks like the
So
same
it's
dog.
more. It's more looking like.
Than
Yes.
anything
Oh,
else.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to change my answer then because it would freak me out to look at a dog that looks exactly like Ralph per se.
That's just odd.
Yeah, well,
and
that's
and it have a totally different personality than what you're used to. I guess that would be a little
But
upsetting.
they all have different, like, you know, we lost, Alex and I both lost dogs in the past few months. And you knew Duke. And
Yeah.
Duke had he was kind of a big baby. He had a really, when I would raise my voice or even if I played music, this poor dog would cower. And I felt so bad for him because he was such a big baby and we loved him so much. But this dog now, Alex, you really haven't met my puppy Max. Like I've told you guys this. He could be right in front of me like he was last night trying to get on the counter to grab some food. And I'm yelling at him at the top of my lungs. And he doesn't even look at me. He doesn't react. He doesn't move. He doesn't change any behavior. And I know he can hear because if there's a little crinkle from a treat bag, well, he comes running. But every dog has different. I mean, Becky and I are like, oh my God,
This might
what?
be the smartest dog in the world.
Well,
You know,
he knows what
hears
he's
Mark
doing.
Reardon's voice and doesn't listen to a thing he says.
I don't respond when you yell anymore.
That's a good point, Fred. That's
you
a
know,
good point.
I just wonder if these people think, well, I'm recreating my dog. Therefore, it'll have the same personality, and that's not what this is. This is a dog that genetically is similar and looks like yours.
Yeah, I think now that you guys are saying it, how like you're doing a great job of explaining this. Obviously, I think it almost sounds like the dog. What if it comes back as a terrible dog? Like, what if this clone looks exactly like the dog you cloned, and it's just like the worst dog
Well,
you've ever
I
had?
don't know. I guess
I
you
do
can-
think that it would mess up my view of the dog that I loved and that I had originally
I think it's
cloned.
weird. I do. And, you know, so they point out here that Vigen has cloned dogs for Paris Hilton. She's also an investor in Colossal and Barbara Streisand as well. They said in the release yesterday that it had cloned 15 species, including a black-footed ferret, a horse, which is found in Mongolia. Earlier this year, they say they had produced, this is interesting, 3 dire wolves, which was made famous, you know, the breed was made famous by Game of Thrones.
Wow.
And they had been extinct for more than 10,000 years, and they call this process de-extinction. They're trying to do some of this with the woolly mammoth in Siberia as well, because they feel like, I can't remember all the details, Fred. Remember 60 Minutes did a story about this years ago. There's a ecological reason for trying to bring back, you know, the woolly mammoth and clone the woolly mammoth. So here's the price tag here. All right. So it says $1,600 just to preserve the genetics, according to Viagen's website. A cloning of a dog and a cat costs $50,000.
50? That's it?
Oh my gosh!
Well, I
Here's the
don't.
other-
I say that's it because to me, that seems low for something like that. And Tom Brady obviously has the money for it.
Well, he's not paying it because they're doing a sponsorship here. He's doing it he got it for free, and then, you know, he's spreading the word. That's how that works. You're an advertising
I mean,
Alex.
yeah,
You
I
should know
think-
that.
I do
But
think.
you know, when you think about all the pets that we do have that already need adoption,
Right.
Well, I
and then
know.
you think creating something that's just going to look like your other one, it just doesn't make much sense.
It sounds like Jurassic Dog Park.
That's
Yes.
right. Totally.
exactly what it is.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I think Fred
Unbelievable.
just came up with the name of a brand new hit movie
Jurassic
for next
Dog
summer,
Park.
maybe the summer after that.
Or
We're
a
coming
band.
back. What?
Or a band. Jurassic Dog
Yeah.
Park.
That's
You know
good.
what?
Maybe I'll
Fred?
go with that.
Both of those work.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got westbound 6440 lined up, and it's approaching Kings Highway in pockets all the way out through the 70 split. 70 has pockets of moderate volume out of downtown on out through. Looks like just Highway A and Wentzville. Some slow-moving traffic on 270 southbound. And it's pockets from Dorset down through 64 and then even continues down through 44. Now, northbound is a slow go. There's an accident, a former car fire on the shoulder just south of 64. Southbound 55, slowing in the construction zone, especially approaching Arsenal down past Bates. We've got 44 westbound slowing in front of the Arch grounds. But things look great on the Illinois side. If you're headed into Illinois on the Poplar, there's a jam on the Missouri side on 64. And then it opens up and looks good on the other side. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, we're going to get down into the maybe even the low 20s here in the next few days. So it's going to be a little chilly. It's going to feel like fall, if not winter. Now, I want to advise you to look at some new windows, some new energy-efficient windows, maybe beautiful Pella windows from Banner Construction. Banner is a group of folks here, Bill Kaufman, Stampede. They've been very successful since 1993. They only work with the best. And the best choose to work with Banner because they have so much expertise, knowledge, and, expert installation process is really important. Like you look at something like James Hardie fiber cement siding or even Pella replacement windows as we talk about energy efficient windows. You need the right team to install those. These are big projects as well. They take months to plan, which is why Banner would love to have you over for a free in-home design consultation today to make your home the best looking home in the neighborhood. Their website is fantastic. It has all the products. You can see pictures of homes that have been transformed in the St. Louis area if you click on the showcase. And there's a James Hardie siding tab, which will explain everything about that great product. So if you're looking for something really cool to do with your home, Banner can help you execute it. BannerConstruction.com, 314-569-1050.
I'm so excited. We are giving away AC/DC tickets. They're coming to town September 6th at the Dome. Be sure to listen to the Mark Cox Morning Show to win tickets to the show. We'll have a chance to win every day this week between 5 and 9 a.m.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
More and more now I'm hearing when all my customers that are calling and setting up appointments for looking at different types of furnace and air conditioners, they're calling in because of all the years that I've said there is a common sense approach, and they want to see what that is. Well over 95% of the people are very happy that they did call me. I'm not saying that they purchased anything from me, but they're extremely happy that they did call me. It's not being cheaper, it's being explained in such a way to where they can make an honest decision for themselves and their family and what's best for their pocketbook. When you start getting prices for new furnace and air conditioners, call me. It's one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. Again, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Again, that's 314-293-2600. Or on the internet, it is bartinman.com. That's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Swapping out your tires? There's nothing like it. With eBay, you can find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It is a beautiful Wednesday afternoon as the sun starts to go down, and then it's pitch black in like 20 minutes, unfortunately.
That's right.
It's the only thing I don't like about this time of year. Alex Rich visits with us on a Wednesday afternoon. This happens to be a Wednesday afternoon. Fred Bottom of the Hall of Famer here as well. Duane Patterson after the top of the hour with some politics from hotair.com. We'll break down the elections, the bloodbath from the GOP, and we'll get some hot takes here after the top of the hour. So I saw this on Fox earlier today, and I was actually on the phone with someone, Fred, when this was on, so I didn't really hear the whole context of it, but then I pulled up the story. You know who Dax Shepard is?
Oh, yeah.
He's an actor, comedian.
Married to Kristen Bell.
He's married to Kristen Bell, who actually, and I don't know if you know this, she grew up here for the first few years of her life in St. Louis. Yes.
Well,
did
yeah,
not know
her
that.
father, Stuart Bell,
Was at Channel 4.
at Channel 4.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Was he the news director or assistant news director?
I believe he was news director.
Yeah. I spoke with
can't
Kristen.
remember.
She only, I think it was only till about 4 years old, and then she moved to Detroit. But she did have some fond memories, and she did say at one point she was a St. Louis Blues fan. So I don't know if that was true.
That's good.
But Dax is her husband, and they did a podcast, I think, with Reese Witherspoon, and it's called the Armchair Expert Podcast. Wasn't it
It's
with
a
Reese?
good one.
Do you listen to it sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay, I like Reese Witherspoon, former girlfriend. I don't know if you knew that. We dated way back in the day.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No. Huh.
They have 3 daughters, Lincoln, Delta, and how am I missing one here? I guess just 2, Lincoln 12, Delta 10, with Kristen Bell. And he goes on this podcast, and he starts to talk about why he allows his children to kind of talk back to adults. And he says that his friends are kind of shook with how our daughters will talk back to us or anybody because it's very un-Southern, right? But he says down there everyone's like, "Hi, Miss Kristen. Hi, Mr. Dax." So this is what he says, and it's a different. I will say that it's a little bit of a different, parenting style.
You're dead right.
Oh, okay.
They do talk back, and they are not respectful. And I can understand where that seems like completely unruly, but I want you to know what I'm prioritizing, which is like when they're 19 and their boss is a creep, I want them to talk back. I want them to be disrespectful. I want them to always advocate for themselves, whether I think they're right or wrong.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm willing to deal with this thing that is embarrassing at a restaurant for y'all, but I can deal with that. I can handle that.
Okay.
Because I want this other thing for them as women.
I'll be honest with you. I don't get it. I don't know what he's saying. Like, you go ahead and be disrespectful, because then when you have an employer, and this is part of the problem we have with these younger kids, they all feel entitled. They feel like they don't have to listen to bosses or people in authority, and that's part of the problem. So maybe there's a little bit of nuance to what he's doing, and I know that everyone has parenting styles that are different. I also know that my parenting style would be put into question quite a bit, because we all make decisions that are controversial, whether it's too much iPad time, etc. But using the word disrespect in an effort to make sure they're prepared to be disrespectful seems bonkers.
Can't you just, advocate for yourself without being disrespectful?
That's exactly right. Right.
Well, I kind of understand what he's saying.
You do?
And yeah, I kind of do. I'm not saying I'm pro it, but I do understand what he's saying. In other words, I think what he means is if women as girls don't learn to stand up for themselves, but I think it can be handled differently.
Yeah. Can't you could learn to be respectful though too.
Yes, you can. But if there's a creep after you, you really don't need to be respectful.
No, I agree with that part, but
we deal with that a lot.
Maybe women do.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know.
A lot.
Even today.
Even when you're a kid.
I think that there's more creeps out there than you think.
Correct.
I agree with Sue on this, because I've noticed it more recently where it's like.
Yeah, I think I'm naive on this.
Yeah,
I
think I used to be naive, but there's like a lot of creeps out there, man. And then like Annie, something will happen in public, and Annie will like be like, "That was weird. It's nothing that I even think about."
Yes.
And then she'll explain it to me from a
different
girl's
perspective.
perspective,
Right.
and I'm like, I guess that is creepy. Like
It
I would
is.
never think that.
And if things are still creepy in 2025, how creepy were they? Like 20, they were
Well,
very
see,
creepy.
It was.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes you need to know that you, as a girl, you can be respectful, but there are times when you don't need to be, and people need to listen to you. I wish I would have known that when I was a kid.
You know what, Sue? I'm going to take that advice. I'm going to put it back in the back of my mind and remember it for when I become a woman, because it can't be too far off in the distant future.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
That's not where I thought that was going, Fred. You understand what I'm saying?
no.
Yeah, I didn't
Me
see that.
too.
Keeping my options open.
Yeah, okay. On the roads this afternoon, we've got some volume on 44, and this is just north of the Arch grounds. Looks like we're slowing there in both directions. Westbound 64 lines up approaching Kings Highway in pockets all the way out through 70. Southbound 270, slow pockets. Page down through, it looks like 21 now. And northbound still slow at 64. There's an accident there on the right side. Southbound 170, a slow go at 64. Now there's a jam, there's slow-moving traffic headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, but things look fine on the bridge itself. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis conservative.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Sometimes it seems all lawmakers do is tax and spend. That's why Missouri voters passed the Hancock Amendment in 1980 to place a limit on what the government can do with your money. But the Hancock Amendment is outdated. It hasn't provided a taxpayer refund since 1999 and probably won't without reform. That's why Missouri needs a taxpayer Bill of Rights. Colorado has one, and taxpayers there have received more than $8 billion in refunds. It's simple. There should be limits on government spending and refunds when there's a surplus in the state budget. A taxpayer Bill of Rights constitutional amendment would help limit the growth of government. Missouri's budget has nearly doubled in the past 5 years, yet the state lags far behind states like Colorado in economic growth. The Hancock Amendment was supposed to protect taxpayers. Now it's time for an update and a taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, it's your money. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
We're going to break down last night's election results that weren't too good for Republicans with Duane Patterson from hotair.com. Coming up.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Thousands of flights impacted. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Transportation Department and the FAA announcing a 10% reduction in air traffic across what they're calling high-volume markets starting Friday.
We do not want to see disruptions at the FAA or here at DOT. We don't want that. But our number one priority is to make sure when you travel safely.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, the cuts are due to a shortage of air traffic controllers who have been working without pay since the government shutdown more than a month ago. There have already been a number of delays at airports across the country as the FAA slows down or stops traffic anytime there's a shortage of controllers. Democratic leaders have sent President Trump a letter demanding a meeting to try to end the stalemate. He doesn't appear to be budging.
We are in the midst of a disastrous Democrat-created government shutdown, and it is Democrat-created, but I don't think they're getting really the blame that they should. That's now officially the longest shutdown in American history.
The president has said he will speak with Democrats once a short-term funding bill is passed. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says Republicans need to consider extending health care subsidies set to expire later this year.
Republican policies are crushing people, particularly as it relates to the cost of living and health care.
Fox's Brett Baer will interview the president and Leader Jeffries separately on Special Report this hour. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says he feels very optimistic after today's hearing before the Supreme Court on President Trump's tariffs, telling Fox Business's Larry Kudlow he thought the plaintiffs embarrassed themselves.
They clearly didn't understand foundational economics. They didn't understand the trade policy they were talking about.
And Bessent said he's confident the high court would reverse a lower court ruling that the tariffs were illegal. America is listening to Fox News.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed. From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Our temperatures will be bouncing around over the next couple of days. We are clear and we are cold overnight tonight. We drop into the 50s this evening. 41 for the low. Thursday, sunny skies, windy. 65, that's a little bit above average. Thursday night, clouds, maybe a spot rain shower. Spots, the key word. 55, Friday, a spot shower in the morning. Otherwise, partly sunny and windy, 71 degrees. Here comes a rush from the Arctic. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him.
Here in New Jersey, we know that this nation has not ever been, nor will it ever be, ruled by kings.
We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness.
Yeah, that's Gavin Newsom. Look, everything is about Trump for them. The guy who is the communist that wins the mayoral race in New York City doesn't care about the people in New York City. Right away, he pivots to Trump. It's all about Trump. Duane Patterson is with us with HotAir.com, the host of the Duane's World podcast. How are you, Duane Patterson? Was it a bloodbath, or are we reading too much into the results? I always think that we overestimate and underestimate some of these things, but I can't wait to hear your take this afternoon. How you doing?
Oh, it was not a very good night at all for Republicans. But, I guess the way I look at it is the one thing about Donald Trump, and I have said this about Donald Trump for 6-7 years, that the biggest voter turnout model for the Republican Party is Donald Trump. The biggest turnout model for Democrats is Donald Trump.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you see
and I think what you saw out of this is you saw a lot of people, if the exit polling turns out to be kind of accurate for how people were feeling in New Jersey and Virginia, what a lot of people were thinking is we really want the bad people to be removed, all the drug dealers and all the fentanyl and all the bad stuff about immigration. We like the border closed, and we like all the bad people and all the criminals being taken out, but they don't like grandmas. They think they bought into the bit that Donald Trump is being too mean about it.
Right.
And that's what they don't like, and that's what the suburbs voted. They think Donald Trump's being too mean about it.
Well, women in particular, I mean, these are pretty staggering numbers. Young women, 18 to 29, they went 81% for Mamdani, 80% for Cheryl in New Jersey, 78% for Spanberger. So young women came out in many of these situations. Now, our friend David Strom at HotAir.com. I liked what David said about this. He kind of summed it up this way. What does it all mean, right? What are the lessons? This is what I want to find out from you this afternoon. He goes, Democrats first. Democrats are fine with politicians who talk about killing Republicans. I don't think that's deniable. Second, voters respond to economics more than rhetoric. And while the economics of Democrats don't add up, economic anxiety means people want to change or a change. Third, the young are truly, madly, deeply stupid and ill-educated. I think we're going to have to agree on that one. Fourth, young women, well, it's obvious that there's a mental health crisis. Hopefully it will burn itself out somehow.
Well, and I agree with a lot of that. Where I would disagree with David Strom is if you look at what happened in New York, who voted for Mamdani? Where he actually scored was with the educated college elites, right?
Yep.
That's who voted for him. If you look at one of the strongholds for Andrew Cuomo, and I'm not defending Andrew Cuomo about anything politically, he was just the least worst option from my perspective. But if you look at the pockets where Cuomo performed the best, it was with the uneducated working class.
Yeah.
Which is kind of counterintuitive.
And we also learned that even if Curtis Sliwa pulled out of that race, it wouldn't have made any difference.
It wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Whatsoever.
So it would have been nice if there would have been some momentum there and it could have been closer, but it looked like there was just a buzzsaw all the way around. And look, the one thing about the Democrats that you can say, and I've said this about them for a while too, they're still going to win elections. They're still going to be a regional party, and they're going to win in pockets where they need to win. Now, I take the caution that a lot of lower down ticket races in, Virginia House delegate seats and in Pennsylvania House seats, there were some flips that Donald Trump performed very well last year that kind of sprung back again this year. Democrats do well in special and off-year elections. They always have. Republicans don't turn out for the little ones as much as they turn out for the big ones. Is this necessarily something that is a canary in the coal mine for 2028 or the 26 midterms? It can and it might, if the economic conditions don't continue to improve.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Look, my advice is, and this is where I, even as a person who comments on politics, I want to be careful because it's easy to knee-jerk the day after the election, and I'm sure you saw what J.D. Vance said today, and he was trying to keep heads calm, and I think that the messaging there was right. He says idiotic to overreact to a couple of elections in blue states, but a few thoughts. And he talked about Scott Pressler, who really turned Pennsylvania red in the last election. He made some other points as well. But my point would be, and I've used Cori Bush as an example here in St. Louis, Duane, because I always said she was the gift that keeps on giving for Republicans. And to a certain extent, Mamdani is going to be that guy now for Republicans, but I don't think we should overestimate the gift that he is to the GOP because of the economic angle of this story. And we don't know where we're going to sit a year from now with this midterm election or next summer where things are going to be. We've seen these news cycles move so quickly that anything could happen. But of course, this is where Republicans are disadvantaged even more. What you said about where women were kind of, convinced that Trump was the mean guy on immigration or whatever, that's driven by the media coverage. And that ain't going to change.
100%.
Right. But that's not going to change. They're always going to go to that angle of the story. So then where does that put Republicans a year from now when maybe the economy is a little bit shakier? It's impossible to tell, but there's a lot of factors working at the same time.
Well, there is, and a lot of those factors are ongoing right now. Yesterday, in the Senate conference luncheon, it went 3 extra hours because it was reported by Axios and Punchbowl News, Jake Sherman's outfit. It was reported that up to 12 senators on the Democratic conference were looking to peel off and come out with some kind of way out of the box canyon on the shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, the wipeout was bad enough. They started to believe their own press on this, that it was that good for them, that now there's talk that, hey, maybe we can just keep this shut down indefinitely. We'll just do this indefinitely. Meanwhile, Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, announced an hour ago that 10% of U.S. air traffic, U.S. airspace, is essentially going to be reduced, meaning as of this weekend, they will not have the staffing available to patrol 100% of U.S. airspace. So basically, we're just going to start slicing away at 10% of available flights. Now, tell me what that's going to do.
That's
going
significant.
Into,
it's going to be a mess. But who's
gonna
going
be a
to
mess,
get the
right?
blame? All right. So here's President Trump. He is with in fact, I think they're airing it right now. Brett Baer.
Is there a deal that can be made to end this government shutdown in your mind?
Well, I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, this never happened before. They always extend. An extension is very easy. It's done all the time. You extend, sometimes you extend 4 or 5 times. I mean, they become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that's frustrating here. John Thune has been consistent. The Speaker's been consistent that we'll talk about the Obamacare subsidies. This is on the table, but we got to get the government back open. Now we're up against the next deadline. Even if we opened the damn thing up 37 days ago, we'd be up against another CR.
In a week,
yeah.
right.
So Brian Kilmeade told me earlier this afternoon he feels like this is going to get wrapped up here because of some of the things that you were talking about. I think some of these Dems are getting nervous, but maybe things change because of the results.
Right. I know there's a lot of the radical side that are thinking, hey, this is working. Let's keep this going a little while longer because Trump's going to pay the price for it. It'll help us in the long run. No, it's not going to help them in the long run. It's going to hurt the country in the long run. And eventually you're going to start seeing people that have had enough of this. The unions are done with this. The American Federal Government Employees Union, the Teamsters, have already basically told the Democrats, knock this off, end it now. And if they don't, well, then as far as us helping you in the primaries, as far as us helping turn out the vote, as far as us giving you money, that's going to end.
Right.
Because we want this to end and you're not listening to us. So the moderate, if you want to call it in air quotes, the moderate Democrats, these 12 that are rumored to be trying to look for the exits, they're the ones that are worried about the money flow changing because that will affect them greatly.
So a lot of the things from last night kind of make sense to me because they're blue states. I've heard some folks try to label Virginia as purple. I despite Glenn Youngkin's win 4 years ago, I don't see that as a purple state. But the one thing that still baffles me, and I'd love your thoughts on this, and maybe this shows that, being someone who encourages violence on your political opponents is lesser evil than President Donald Trump, because that's how they voted in Virginia. The Jay Jones thing blows me away, that people still, with all those text messages being exposed, they still choose that guy over a Republican.
Yes. Now, what I will say about that is we thought going in that if Spanberger beat Winsome Sears by 5 or 6 points, something like that, he could probably do a ticket split. You could rationally expect a ticket split of maybe 8, 9, 10%, and he would be able to survive and maybe win by a couple. So what ended up happening is Spanberger ended up winning it by what, 12, 13?
Yeah, about 13
something
points.
like that.
Right.
And there still was almost a 10-point ticket split, but it was there was just no way. I mean, in all practical way, you're not gonna survive on a ticket that where the top of it you lose by 12, 13.
No, you're right. That is not going to happen. So what does this all mean moving forward for Republicans in your mind? Because obviously there's always going to be an overreaction. I did like what J.D. Vance had to say. He basically said, and this is, I think, the message of this election, economics again. He said we need to focus on the home front. The president has done a lot that has already paid off in lower interest rates and lower inflation, but we inherited a disaster from Joe Biden, and Rome wasn't built in a day. And all that is true. Look, I'll tell you, here in the Midwest, you guys got a different situation in California. We got low gas prices. Eggs are cheaper. I mean, the economy, and we live in a very affordable place, so the affordability issue doesn't come up quite as much here in the St. Louis region because you can still afford to rent an apartment and do things like that. But when you have Democrats making some of the promises that they're making, and politicians always do that, what happens when Mamdani can't come through with all of these promises? I'm sure the media will treat him exactly the way they treat Donald Trump.
Where is the affordability problem? It's in California. It's in New Jersey.
Yeah.
It's in Virginia. It's in New York State. That's where the affordability problem is. And now they own it. Now I'm not looking for the media to come down on it. But where Republicans go from here, look, it goes back to the James Carville principle, right? It's the economy, stupid. he did a lot of great things and has done a lot of great things on foreign policy and solved wars, and the Middle East thing is starting to plane out. I mean, there's still a lot of problems with it, but he's done a lot of good things. It's been a great term for the last year, but he needs to spend a lot more time doing more economic development and getting more people hired. I know there's a lot of factories being built right now in all sorts of pockets of the country. That needs to continue. And if we can get interest rates lowered a little bit and get the economy really firing in all cylinders by mid-next year, there's no reason that Republicans are going to go in not having a very heavy hand to play in the midterms. But right now you're in that transition period, and people don't like change.
Yeah, well, and that's where, I mean, I think you're almost set up for the Republicans not having a good night in, the midterms a year from now, because that's historically how things go. I feel like there's so many things that could potentially happen between now and then. Look, I really want this to be a big celebration for the sesquicentennial. It'll be very interesting to see how we all, as a society that mostly hates each other now, react to that next year. I think that's going to be fascinating.
I'm looking at this too. The 9/11 memorial in 2026. That's going to be the 25th anniversary of 9/11, right?
Yeah.
In Lower Manhattan. With Mom Donnie presiding over that, that's going to be a real banger, isn't it?
Right, exactly. I mean, there's all kinds of implications like that. Look, even in New York, we talked about this with Brian earlier. You're going to have police officers, firefighters. They're going to say, we're not going to work under these conditions. People who are on the cusp of retirement.
You saw the news today, right?
Yes.
You saw the news today, right?
Yeah.
The New York Fire Department commissioner, who happens to be Jewish, handed in his resignation today.
Yeah, Brian brought that up earlier. Yeah, and then he thinks maybe the police commissioner might do the same thing.
Yep. Because for obvious reasons, the cover of the New Yorker, for crying out loud, the cover of the New Yorker, they dropped for what it's going to be for next week's issue, and it's a subway train with all of the coalition groups and Zohran Mamdani on it. And no kidding, it's a cartoons New Yorker cover, but there is a Hasidic Jew behind Zohran Mamdani, and he literally has his back to the one Jew that's on the New Yorker cover. It's just remarkable what New York has done to themselves.
That's good political cartoonship, if I can say. Very accurate. Duane, always great to have you on. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great week.
You got it.
All right,
Hi,
that's
Sue.
Duane Patterson. Oh, he got the hi, Sue, in there.
Hi, Duane.
Yeah, see, she was in here. She was actually in here. Take care. We'll see you. He always gets that in at the end. Let me play just a little bit of Mamdani from last night, because I thought this was interesting reaction on CNN from Van Jones and David Axelrod. So he went into, I think that politicians do this all the time. They try to appeal to as many people as they can, so they're fake as hell, right? But he turned into angry Mamdani last night during this speech.
I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist.
Oh, my God.
Unbelievable.
And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Yeah, so he is what he is, and we've kind of known that. But listen to Van Jones and David Axelrod on CNN kind of panning his speech. I was surprised by this.
I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here, where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people was not on stage tonight, and there was some other voice on stage.
I agree with everything that Van said about that speech. This was a shouted speech, not a talk with the city on the night of his election, ushering in a new era.
That's interesting, reaction like that, because look, what it tells me is the guy's a fraud, and he talks about all these issues to get elected, and all he wants to do is be full on TDS and make a national name for himself, and then eventually run for president. But it's easy for someone to have an appeal like that when you're smiling all the time and you're shaking hands and everyone thinks, we just need change. Things are too expensive here. But if you start exposing yourself a little bit more, I mean, Duane's point about 9/11, I think, is really, really interesting. I had one more piece of, so this was, a year ago today that Trump won. This was the 1-year anniversary of the election. He was in Miami today.
Gathered today on the 1-year anniversary of the single most consequential election victory. They say, this is them, this isn't me. I'm a very modest person. I would never say this. The single most consequential election victory in American history. It's possible. I mean, it's possible. We've done a lot.
He couldn't help himself, though. He had to say that. And then he talked about Mamdani.
If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation. Remember, I've said we will never have a socialist elected to any post in our country. I used to say that, and I was right. We skipped socialist and we put in a communist instead. That's not...
Went right to communism. I don't know what people in New York are thinking. I really don't. I also think, I'll have to look at the percentages, but you got 9.5 million people there, and it was about 1 million votes for Mamdani, 700 or something for Cuomo, and then, Sliwa picks up the pieces. He only got like 7%. But that still seems like a low amount of people voting in an election, doesn't it?
It does.
A little bit.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We still have, they're still calling it a vehicle fire. No flames are visible anymore, but this is northbound 270 at 6440, and they've got the right lane blocked through there. So that has really left us with a jam this afternoon. So if you are traveling in this area, that's what the cause of the delay is. Well, now we have a stall eastbound 70 before Jennings Station Road. That's on the right side. There's a lot of volume out there still. Well, I guess it looks like it's midnight outside, and it always causes a little bit of issues. Westbound 40 is jammed, and this is approaching Kings Highway. Heaviest through the inner belt, but slow pockets really that go all the way out through the 70 split. 70, of course, jammed at Jennings Station Road. We had eastbound slowing through there, and then westbound was slowing for a look. Also some slow-moving traffic past the airport and in pockets on out. Southbound 270, that's mainly volume from Page down through Doherty Ferry, but moderate volume that goes down through 21 as well. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis. It's got the latest, most custom designs. It's in Chesterfield Valley, and you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella Windows specialist. With winter just around the corner, now is the time to think about Pella Windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction 314-569-1050 to schedule your free in-home consultation, or the website bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I meant to bring this up with Duane Patterson a few minutes ago, but let me find out who this woman is. Her name is Jennifer Welch, and she said something in the aftermath of Mamdani winning last night, which was a little frightening. And I think that, it needs to be discussed, even though I'll be deemed a racist if I discuss it. But Matt Walsh said something on Twitter that sort of resonated with me. Okay, let's see. This person is a Bravo star. I don't know. She might have been a Beverly Hills housewife. I have no idea. The point of this is what she said at the Mamdani party last night to Mehdi Hassan, who is a liberal broadcaster and pundit. And this is hard to hear, but I'm going to play it and then I'll kind of walk you through it. So I think there might have been a little alcohol involved here, but they're celebrating Zoran's victory at this party, and then she's on the microphone and she says this.
I've grown up in those circles. Everybody needs some spice and some color in their lives. Life's a lot better. That's the coolest thing about America. Americans have no culture except for multicultural.
Well said.
And we need to teach people how to embrace that.
All right, so you really can't hear that, but here's what she said, and this is horrifying to me. It really is. And those of us who really deeply love this country, and I'm all for different cultures coming in and assimilating, in particular, being part of the American project, experiment, dream, whatever you want to call it right now. But this person says to Mehdi Hassan, Americans have no culture except for multiculturalism. Crusty white people need to learn how to embrace it. Well, that is not something that I'd like to embrace at all. And I think there's a rejection of this. And this is why, well, we can get into broader conversations here about anti-Semitism and some of the things that are happening with or have happened in Israel and the Middle East, because these are attacks on Western civilization. And Matt Walsh, who is one of my favorites out there on social media, of course, he did that great movie, What is a Woman, said this when he retweeted out this soundbite from this Jennifer Welch person. He says, this is the enemy, wretched, evil parasites motivated by resentment and hatred, openly plotting to erase our culture and identity and replace it with a dystopian communist hodgepodge of third world dysfunction. This is the fight for now and the future. Get in the game. This is it. Every once in a while, I might see something like that and, deem it hyperbole. I do not deem that hyperbole at all. And I think there is a big fight. Look, these are people that many of them, they hate America. And I think Mamdani is one of them. They want to transform this country into something that it was not based on or founded on. And it's frightening to me. It really is.
It is.
And I don't know, at this point, this is where the big disadvantage comes with the media, because I think if the media is really telling the truth on a lot of these stories, the American people would have a fair way to assess what's going on.
Agreed. And I think they're just trying to voice anti-Trump.
Oh, of course. And this is going to...
this is what they're going to get.
This is going to fuel it, what happened in New York. But will anyone have the guts? This is where the Barry Weiss situation at CBS kind of gets interesting. Will anyone really have the guts? Because it is completely fair to criticize Donald Trump for some of the things that he says. I've criticized him. He loves to... He was weaving today. He's down in Miami. He's weaving. And he said things that simply have not come true. Like, I'm going to fix the Ukrainian-Russia thing right away. Well, he didn't do that. Now, a lot of us... Maybe we give him a little bit of a pass on that simply because he's Trump.
Not as though he didn't try.
Well,
yes.
but I'm saying this was even before he was a year ago, right? I'm the next day. Well, that's Trump being Trump, right? But on Mamdani, look, he said a lot of things that he has, promised the people of New York. government-run grocery stores, right?
Right.
Rent control, all of these things, affordability. That's what he campaigned on. My prediction would be he ain't going to address any of those things. He's going to focus on Trump and everything against Trump. Now, will that work for him as mayor of New York? Maybe it will, because I know some people that are in some of the boroughs and in Manhattan, and they freaking hate Trump, and they think someone like me is a Nazi now. And these are even, look, I've told this story. I have a friend at CBS News who's a pretty, big muckety-muck at CBS and has been for decades. And we were very close friends. And he basically unfriended me. It wasn't over Trump. It was over something I said about the trans issue.
Yeah.
And I was deemed, this was a friend of mine for decades, and I was deemed unworthy instantaneously by that person. These are the people that are running the newsrooms, all right? And these are the young people, and this guy's actually my age, but they have a mission, and that mission does not include loving this country, unfortunately.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Still a lot of volume out there. Southbound 55 from Arsenal down through Bates. To the south of there, it looks okay. I mean, there was some moderate volume north of Herculaneum. Now we have a real jam on southbound 141, especially between Gravois and 21. We've got 6440 lining up, approaching Kings Highway in pockets all the way out, and that means to the 70 split. Southbound 270 still jammed, headed for Ladue Road. Northbound is still jammed, headed for 64. An accident on the shoulder there. Westbound 70, pockets of slow-moving traffic out of downtown. Northbound 61 is just jammed out west, headed for Highway P. It's just a slow go. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they have been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces, quality craftsmanship, and lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It was all going perfectly until Uncle Joe dropped the gravy boat. Don't let Thanksgiving spills leave a stain on your holidays. Call Zero Res of St. Louis. Their patented cleaning technology lifts out even the toughest gravy, cranberry sauce, or pumpkin pie disasters without soap or residue, so your carpets and upholstery stay cleaner longer. And with the holidays coming up, you don't want Aunt Linda sitting on a dirty couch, do you? It's time for sweaters, sweatpants, and cozy nights at home, so make sure your home feels fresh and clean with Zero Res. Is your home ready for the holidays? Don't trust those deal of the day cleaners or try to DIY it. Zero Res has a 4.9 star rating on Google with over 5,900 reviews. Safe, effective, and trusted all over St. Louis. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $139 and save $50 off air duct cleaning. Call 314-474-2020 or book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com and ask for the KFTK special. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forward. It spells the same.
Hey, this is Ryan Wiggins. You know I love great deals, and when I find one, I'm going to pass it along. How about 75% off of snacks, chips, and especially Little Debbie products? It's its second-generation distribution in Roxana. I go there all the time. Plus, you can search through while you're there. Their nice selection of toys, electronics, home goods, apparel, all discounted. You're going to love this store. Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 301 South Old Edwardsville Road in Roxana, Illinois, or visit them online to see the full inventory. Type in Little Debbie Store Roxana.
Accidents can happen in the blink of an eye, especially in a busy city like St. Louis. Whether you're a rideshare driver or passenger, injuries can leave you feeling lost, confused, and unsure of where to turn. At Kaufman Townsley, we understand. We're from here. We live in St. Louis, and we know what it takes to fight for the rights of our neighbors. We're here to help you through the difficult time with the experience and care you deserve. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
We called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
they came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Real talk, today's issues. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Well, I had Ms. Dueker scheduled for a segment here to talk about our former mayor, and I don't know if she's on the line or not because we were having trouble getting a hold of her. I will tell you that we have an audio cut of the day coming up here before the end of the hour, and then what did Fred tell me about tomorrow? I know we have the roundtable set, and Jane will be on the roundtable. Gene Evans will be here. Jeff Rainford will do a little music stuff in the 5 o'clock hour with our friend Tim Summer. This is funny. I mentioned this. You were talking about the Louisville plane crash, the UPS plane, where now they say that like an engine fell off the...
Yeah, that's not good.
No, not good at all. And then Joe Arnold, our friend from Louisville, used to work at WHAS down there, radio and television. He was describing some of this, and just all of the fuel that was burning up. The smoke was incredible. And I think there were some difference of opinions of how many people passed away. I don't know if it was 9 or 11, but they held a news conference today. But what I found interesting, and I texted my father up in Chicago, because my dad was in the insurance business, and he was transferred here in 1979 with Arthur J. Gallagher. They still have, Gallagher Bassett was the name of the company. They still have a location here in St. Louis. But his office used to be very close to O'Hare Airport. And we lived in a suburb of Chicago that was not too far from, the airport. And I mentioned this earlier. It was in Niles. I lived right across the street from a high school called Notre Dame High School. And the reason I bring it up is because they talked about what happened with the engine sitting on the ground next to the runway after the crash. And there's a guy that was quoted by the name of John Cox, who was with this aviation consulting firm. And he said the only other time that he could recall when something happened, it was the same thing, was a General Electric engine that detached from a plane, was at this big crash that I remember from when I was a kid. It was 1979, May of 1979. 273 people were killed.
Jeez.
And they blamed improper maintenance before the crash. So anyway, I'm sending a text to my dad today, and I put that quote in there about the 79 crash, and he lacked perspective because his response to me was, "Sorry, I had bridge here with 6 ladies. I'm not watching the news." And he said, "You have such a good memory." Wow. And I said, "I can't remember what happened like an hour ago."
Yes.
But there's things that happen in your life, and what I remember is a big, even though O'Hare was probably 7-8 miles away from where I was, maybe even more than that, a big plume of smoke from that, I think it was an American Airlines. And that memory kind of, I remember seeing it over the high school that I lived across from, and it's just one of those things that kind of sticks in your mind. And that's a lot. Look, 273 people died.
Yeah, that's awful.
We have fortunately not had air disasters too similar in this country since then. Do we get Jane on the horn?
Yeah.
That's kind of like what she does on the Friday. She shows up late. Hi, Jane.
I don't. Hi there.
I'm teasing you.
I know.
All right.
No,
so
I thought I was on time.
you're fine on time. It's fine. But we want to talk about this because I sent this to you. You had already seen it, I'm sure. But this was reporting from our friend Lauren Traeger, who happens to be, I don't know if you know this, the official investigative reporter of the Mark Reardon Show. And she did this reporting on this woman that has ties to our friend Tish, and maybe even more importantly, Tish's, the former mayor's dad. Corey Elliott is her name. So explain the story here, because she's in a little bit of trouble now.
Yeah, she's in a lot of trouble. So she has pled guilty in federal court to pandemic PPP loan fraud, $1.7 million of it. And she, is a consultant. She was the one. There were developers that were alleging, and there were articles about this, that they were alleging that she was, trading influence in the mayor's office, that she, was getting retainers in order to set up meetings and get things done with the mayor. So, I mean, this was, the mayor's father, Vervis Jones, who's also spent time in federal prison when he was comptroller, after he was comptroller. It's his girlfriend. And,
I love this.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. And look, this woman, like if you look in the Post-Dispatch, there's a list of like grants and contracts that she got. And now she had a roofing company. Like, I don't know, she has no in construction, but she set up a roofing company and other companies that got contracts. I think she got an airport contract.
One loan was for
a lot of contracts.
One loan for the roofing company was $875,000. The other was $833,000. The company claimed it had 40 employees. There was another company, to your point, that claimed one employee, and that got a loan of $20,000. All the loans were forgiven for with higher amounts in accrued interest. So, the mayor says at one point, I want to be clear, Corey Elliott does not have the ability to influence me, my office, or any city department. But Lauren also pointed this out. Remember the fire that was reported?
Yes.
This is in O'Fallon at Corey Elliott's home.
At her house.
January of this year.
Severely burned.
Right. So
she was severely burned.
So they let me just say what Lauren said in her reporting. Officials closed their investigation, though they initially classified their report as suspicious incident because the man on the scene gave a false identity. He was later identified as 60-year-old Nathan Williams. The home was heavily damaged in the fire. Elliott was reportedly injured. In the police report, Elliott's daughter told police Vervis Jones was Elliott's boyfriend. So that's kind of how that came out. But this whole thing
that was really strange because do you know that man is former Senator Nasheed's brother?
You're talking about the dude
who was in the house.
Really?
Who was in the house with Corey Elliott? Correct.
Nathan Williams.
So even though, even though her boyfriend was Vervis Jones, the former senator's brother was in the house.
Okay,
yeah, so that's a little strange.
All right, so we have this story. She's in big trouble, right? There's no doubt about it. But does this then touch the mayor and her father? I mean, how does it not get a little bit more investigation?
Absolutely.
Thank goodness.
And she got all these contracts through SLDC too. And there's been a lot of issues with SLDC and Neil Richardson. I mean, that's all being investigated as well. That North business money, that pandemic money, where they were giving money to businesses that didn't exist. And so, but she had her hand in that as well. So what's really bizarre is if you go to the federal docket, like, you go in and you look for the case, it says the case, you can't see the case anymore.
Okay.
And it said it was closed in October 30th.
So what does that mean to you? How do you interpret that?
It's a little strange that you can't even see the docket or you can't even see the case. You can't even see the case, which makes me think that it's secret for a reason.
Which could indicate that maybe there's some deals that are also being part of an ongoing investigation, right?
Correct.
That's good.
They don't usually hide records like that. Like you can't even get the plea agreement, or not even the plea agreement. You can't even get the order that says there was a plea.
Really?
And so usually that's all public usually.
So there's a chance that she pleads, but she also flips, right?
It's possible. She's facing up to 3 years in prison.
Oh yeah, she's flipping.
Man.
And they don't they don't let you out early in the in the federal program.
Right.
No.
So this PPP loan, I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to get everybody. And, it's a pretty easy prosecution. I mean, you just go get bank records and you figure out how they spent the money.
True.
Now, what's also interesting, when they said that there was fraud, it is not abundantly clear what kind of fraud it was. Did she lie on applications? Did she spend money on personal expenses like we've seen happen? So it's not entirely clear what the exact fraud was.
I would guess maybe all those things, possibly.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. But, when the former speaker pled guilty, they were very clear about what he did. They were very clear that he spent money on the country club and tuition and all that. We did not get any of that detail in the announcement of this indictment and plea.
Now, when you say, just to be clear, when you say the former speaker, you mean your former prom date, John Deal?
Yes, true. I did. I went to prom with him in high school.
You know how much I love that. You know how much I love that. I really do.
Have you seen the picture?
Oh,
bring it in.
Bring it.
Epic.
Bring it in.
The picture is, there was taffeta. There was taffeta involved.
I love it.
You would die. Pink taffeta. Me and pink taffeta. What do you think about that?
I love it. I
Bring
love
the picture in Friday. We'll see you on the roundtable. I'm guaranteeing you this is going to be a topic on Friday afternoon. Thanks, Jane.
Oh, sure. All right, guys. Bye.
Take care. I mean, like this.
Jeez,
when
Mark.
I sent it to her originally, I'm sure she had seen it. I said, "Man, this is juicy because of the involvement." I love the fact that the mayor's father's girlfriend is the one that's going down here. $1.7 million. If only people at the time had, for example, on a show like this, gone on the radio and warned everyone that the amount of fraud and abuse from this stuff in the aftermath of COVID was going to be epic proportions.
And it was.
And it was. I mean, we'll never know. We'll never be able to gauge this accurately. But we've already had locally a bunch of these that have come to fruition with the U.S. Attorney's Office where hundreds, millions, not hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. So when you look at the numbers, and I know we're talking billions, for the whole country, we'll never, ever be able to track down all the fraud.
It's just not possible.
And there was a lot of it.
Yep.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We still have what earlier was a vehicle fire on northbound 270 at 64. They still have that right lane blocked, and traffic is slow. Really back through Big Bend, because now we've got an accident reported just north of Big Bend. So there's a break in the jam, and then a jam that goes back through almost Marshall Road. Westbound 70 slowing out of downtown, some moderate volume in pockets past the airport. 64 is heavier, and it's Kings Highway in pockets out through 70. 55 is still jammed at Bates in the construction zone there. Looks like we've got an accident reported on Telegraph just south of Forder Road, so some volume there in both directions. We look good, though, on the Illinois side. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
At least Jane went to prom. I never went to prom.
Well,
I asked one girl, and she said no. And
Oh, really?
I was done
I'm
here.
sorry.
I didn't really have an active dating life until I was like 19 years old. I wish I was making that up. I think my first girlfriend was when I was in kindergarten. Her name was Mimi Hadaway.
That's
True story.
very cute.
And then I didn't have another girlfriend until I was 19. That's kind of sad, isn't it?
It's a little bit of a dry spell, but you bounced back.
I rebounded. Yes, exactly. All right, we love the Show Me Institute here at 97.1 FM Talk for a variety of reasons. They're a great resource for us. Former Senator Talent's Brenda, his wife, former Senator Talent's wife, Brenda, runs the Show Me Institute. It's a great organization here. They like to say where liberty comes first. It's a think tank, and they look at different issues. Let's say it's education or the way that we use our taxpayer dollars. We had some school ballot measures, one that passed, one that didn't. Of course, in Rockwood, they look at all kinds of issues relating to that. Some of this TIF issue that gets discussed with corporations and businesses trying to get tax breaks when they move in. So they look at all this, they assess it, and you're, just as I am, free to look on their website and educate yourself. Find out what they do. They do some great speaking, guest speaker things. Scott Bessent, who is one of the big shots on the economic team for Trump, was here. No, Kevin Hassett, not Scott. Kevin Hassett was here with the Show Me Institute a couple of years ago. It was an awesome, awesome event. You can always find out more and use them as a resource for you at showmeinstitute.org.
Visit 971talk.com/events and enjoy Trans-Siberian Orchestra, a Christmas tradition at Enterprise Center December 23rd. A portion of the proceeds benefits Siteman Kids at St. Louis Children's Hospital. Visit 971talk.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. As we get colder weather moving into St. Louis and into Missouri, you don't want the power knocked out. Let's be honest. You don't want the power knocked out at any time. But think about it like when it's really hot over the summer or when it's really cold. That's the last time you want the power to go out. I'm going to give you an opportunity to get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. These are high-quality generators. You never have to worry. Even if you're away from home, the Generac generator will kick right in. So whether it's a long outage, severe storms, ice storms here in the Midwest, downlines, it doesn't matter. Don't depend on the utilities. Put yourself into a position where you get peace of mind with a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter of St. Louis, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Call 314-499-2020. Financing is available. Call for a free estimate today or visit GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Sponsored by Progressive. We make the claims process easy so you can get back on the road in no time. It's why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive. See for yourself at progressive.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Yeah, there's kind of a topic I'm hanging on to. It's a little bit of a broader topic that I definitely want to discuss. Senator Hawley addressed this a little bit today, so I might use this for audio cut of the day. But one thing that I would say, and I've emphasized this a couple of times this afternoon, you don't want to freak out about what happened, but you also don't want to underestimate some of the messages that were sent by the voters, and the economic messages in particular. We know that these are important. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal a week ago, and it was referenced by Brian Kilmeade, I think, earlier today. Amazon was going to, they did. They announced they're cutting 14,000 corporate jobs.
Jeez.
14,000. That's 10% of its white-collar workforce.
And they seem so busy all the time.
Yeah.
So
you know why? AI. Okay,
Yeah.
so UPS said that it had, and this was before the crash, this was last week, they had reduced management workforce by 14,000 positions in the past 22 months. Target said it would cut 1,800 corporate roles. So there's a lot of stuff out there that are kind of freaking people out, and justifiably so, because with these young people, and this is where we have to be careful, because they are drawn to socialism and communism because they are worried about their future. That's why the affordability issue is so important. But the guy that you elect with all these promises in New York is not the answer. But there are things happening underlying in the economy right now that are a little, scary. And I think, and this is where I'll go to audio cut of the day. So I got to play this.
Stand by. Playback ready. Now, the audio cut of the day.
Look, it is of my opinion, and I've had some deep discussions with some conservative friends about this, that the biggest issue moving forward that we should be talking about, this affects everything in our life, is AI. Scares the hell out of me. There are things that are going to happen that are not good, and this will make people more addicted to government help. That's one of the concerns that I have. So Senator Hawley, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even heard this yet. He was on with Will Cain talking about AI today.
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, number one, when it comes to chatbot companions for minors, which is what I think you're referring to, we ought to just say that these AI companies cannot use chatbot companions and direct them towards minors. Why? Because they have been literally telling young kids how to commit suicide. Character AI, OpenAI, that's ChatGPT. We've had instance after instance when 13, 14, 15-year-olds go to these chatbots, ask for help on homework, and pretty soon the chatbot is saying, have you thought about committing self-harm? Have you thought about taking your own life? And then the kids tragically do so. This has got to stop. But also, when it comes to jobs, we got to make sure that AI is actually helping workers, not taking away jobs, but helping them become more productive, creating new jobs. So what we've done is we want to pass a law that says, let's get the facts. Let's make these companies report how many jobs have they destroyed, how many jobs have they created. Let's make sure AI is actually doing something good for the American worker.
I like the idea. I don't know the specifics of what he's trying to get to there, but look, this is and should be, and I think President Trump and the administration recognizes this, that this discussion about AI needs to take place. And I don't know what all the answers are. I just know that you reacted. I remember this a couple years ago. Remember when 60 Minutes did the story about AI, and I came in here and I was all freaked out.
Yeah, you were.
And you thought that I was overreacting. I don't think I was overreacting at the time. I think it is one of the biggest crises that we will face, and how this stuff kind of unfolds. And not all of it is bad. Don't get me wrong.
That's
Some
what
of
I
it is
mean.
good.
I can't remember the specifics of it, but you're right. It has really become a thing.
The specifics of it is that the AI is going to take over and become smarter than we are. That's not a joke, though. That's what, look, George Rosenthal has talked about this.
Yes,
we may
he
even have
has.
him on again tomorrow. These are these
It's like
underlying
Eagle
issues
Eye.
that most people don't know are maybe even happening. And in many ways, this will make our lives better. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've
Yes.
always adapted to changes in
But-
technology, but this is different.
Yeah,
it
it
really
is.
is. So there's your audio cut of the day. Not trying to be super negative or anything like that. We'll be back tomorrow at 3. And typically I have a couple of things on my list that we might do, but I'm not sure. We're going to have Fred book everything up in the morning. On Friday, we will have a Reardon Roundtable. Jane will be here. Gene Evans on the panel. Jeff Rainford, the former chief of staff for Mayor Slay, who is also taking me to the Mizzou game on Saturday.
Very
the Texas
nice.
A&M game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sue, we'll see you tomorrow at 3.
You got it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident westbound 70 approaching West Florissant, and this thing is blocking the left lane and the left shoulder. If you are westbound on 70, that obviously the cause of the delay. But 64 is still pretty slow, and this is approaching Hampton in pockets all the way out through the 70 split. We still have that accident that started as a vehicle fire. Northbound 270 south of 64. Look for heavy traffic back near Doherty Ferry. And southbound has slow pockets south of Page down through Big Bend. Now, we look fine if you're headed into Illinois. Things have thinned out on the bridges downtown. 55 is pretty good shape, but there is an accident on Telegraph just south of Forder, and that's causing a jam in both directions. This report is brought to you by Aspen Contracting. Aspen Contracting, roofsbyaspen.com. And if you have siding issues, Aspen Contracting has the crews and project managers to protect your home and restore its beauty. Call them today for a free siding inspection. 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, I'm coming up on, we just celebrated the station's anniversary. I have a 20-year anniversary that will hit in March for being back in St. Louis on the radio. I was in Milwaukee, and I bring it up because I was very lucky and have been very lucky over the last couple of decades to meet some very interesting people who are my sponsors. They impress me. They inspire me. Susan L. Ward is one of those folks. And I didn't hook up with Susan until I came over here 4 years ago on 97.1 FM Talk, but she is a firecracker. She's whip smart. You want her on your side. She's a family law attorney. That means divorce, but it's well beyond that because there are things that happen in the aftermath, post-divorce issues, modifications, dealing with child support, etc. But they want to make sure that they petition and defend you against the things that might harm you and the relationship with your kids in the future. They do a great job here in St. Louis. They have a brand new office, too, right over in De Pere, Manchester, and 270. To get a hold of Susan, it's easy. 314-783-9400. The website, stlfamilylaw.com. The focus on family law. The emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Health.